How is your fundraiser going this year? If it's anything less than amazing, it's time to talk to Sean Murphy at FanPledge. No product to sell, nothing to deliver, and guaranteed results. Raise at least 10% more than your current donation based fundraiser, or it's free. Fun, fast, proven. Call Sean at 903-948-7348. FanPledge. The champions are already on board. Are you? Band Yap is proudly sponsored by Troubadour Consultants. When it comes to planning group travel for your fine arts program, look no further than Troubadour Consultants. Whether you're organizing a major out of state trip or need top notch accommodations for the state marching contest, John Mize and his team are ready to create a custom travel experience that meets your band's unique needs. As a family owned, band director run company, Troubadour understands exactly what it takes to make your trip stress free and seamless. Plus, when you book a trip with Troubadour, they will sponsor a $500 college scholarship for a student in your band. Directors who book will also receive a free Mollard baton as a special thank you. Visit troubadourconsultants.com today to start planning your next trip with the experts who truly get it.
The joke that we make, and you've probably heard me say this a bunch, but Luke and I say we're trying to quickly bring music education into the 1990s. For years, I was writing 16 and 17 shows, drill and music, and spending $0 of that and just put it all into UDB, just to start this thing with my brother. And he was doing the same exact thing. So, yeah, I mean, that's just what it took.
Hello and welcome back to Band Yap. My name is Alexa Sanchez.
And I'm Jose Sanchez.
And today we have the ultimate guest. We have Josh Gall. Hi, Josh.
Hey, guys. Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, yeah.
So, Josh, the people want to know, who is the best looking Gall brother?
Other than me? Was that the question?
Sure.
I think that answered your question.
Can you rank them in order so that way we can send it to them?
Yeah. This is strictly a rank and rate system. No, we all have our redeeming qualities. But there's four of us, plus my dad, But my mom, she wins the prize because she had to put up with all five of us. So,
oh man,
that's a lot of boys.
So there's four brothers.
Yeah.
Okay, so y'all were real close to making a basketball team.
Close, yeah. And one could have maybe guessed that's probably what we were close to doing based on the vans that my dad would drive as a kid. He was sort of like the default, bus for everybody, just because the Galls always had the Astro van. You could fit a bunch of kids in there, a bunch of drums, a bunch of tubas, whatever you needed. So yeah, we were always prepared to lug people around.
Okay, so what's the order? Who's the oldest?
So I'm the oldest of four. So it's me and then Jacob, the next one down, who's 4 years younger, then Gabriel, who's 2 years younger than him, and then Luke, who's 2 years younger than Gabriel.
Okay, and you play what did you play? I know Luke plays euphonium, yes?
Correct, yeah. So tuba was my primary instrument and percussion was my secondary. So I grew up playing percussion, and then the night before beginning band started, my dad showed up with a trombone and was like, "Oh, you're playing trombone now?" And I was like, "No way." And he gave me the look. I was like, "Okay, yeah, I'm playing trombone." And because he knew what he was doing. He was my band director, and so he knew that he needed trombone players. And so if he could get his kid to do it, then everybody else would sort of follow. So we went from having no trombones in the beginning band to 6. So that was a big deal. And then I switched to tuba a couple years later and stayed playing percussion.
Awesome. And your other two brothers?
Jacob is a world-class percussionist, incredible teacher. Gabriel is by far the most talented out of all of us. He's an incredible singer, songwriter, guitar player, pianist, just total musical sort of freak of nature, and just he can do all of the things that we wish were possible in our fingers and toes and all that stuff. He's just got it all.
Don't you just hate that when there's that one person that just gets it and you're just like, why? Why?
Yeah, he's got it, and he always has. He's just an absolutely incredible musician.
Did he strut? Did he strut?
I don't know if I would say he did that, but he like he's the best way I know how to put it, man. He's just like a true artist, and like so he just walks to his own. He walks to his own beat. He carves his own path. He's never looking or worried about how other people view his art because it's not for them. It's for him, you know.
Mhm.
And so he's really proud of it. I wish that truthfully, I wish he were more proud of it. I wish he would share more of it with the world because it's absolutely incredible. And the stuff that he has shared with the world has been transformative for him and for the community. So, I mean, he's really, really, really special.
And that's a skill. Like, really, that is a skill a lot of people don't have, just to like
Mhm.
internalize that artistry.
Yeah, it's hard. I think some people, and I can relate to this, although I'm not this way personally. I think some people have a hard time commercializing or selling the thing that is sort of like this innate part of them, you know. And so I don't know. I mean, that's something that I can't push him to do or not to do. But you know, he's just an incredible artist, and um, yeah, he's one of one.
Man, I wonder what the value on that trading card is.
Yeah.
That's the next venture in UDB, trading cards.
UDP trading cards.
You know what? I'm gonna write that down. We have lots of things that we thought of. I mean, with over the years, like Luke and I have come up with all of the different UDBs. There's like ultimate dinosaur binoculars, ultimate diaper bags. You know, we're getting ready to make our ultimate dongle bag for TBA. So we have like one of every adapter that you could ever think of. So like we have our UDB list goes pretty deep, but the trading card would be new.
Yeah, I mean, could you imagine like if you were able to get the rights with like DCI and like do core style like trading cards, and the core members are actually on, but then you have to get into like the NIT stuff, like the
NIL, yeah,
likeness.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that one,
NIL.
NIL. Sorry, not
Yeah.
NIT. We're not playing basketball.
No,
It's
but
like,
there's something there though.
That'd be very
yeah,
interesting. Could you imagine like we could open up a trading booth
yeah.
at Team EA and TBA?
The kids would be opening them like, oh, I got 8 to 5 step again. Oh, yeah, that's smart.
Oh,
I
guys.
like that idea. Yeah.
That's funny. I wonder how that would pop off for the high school kids.
Oh, they would
They would
they
eat
would
it
go
up. Are you kidding me?
crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
they would absolutely lose their mind. Especially, you know, I mean, I mean, maybe we'll get to talking about this at some point, but like, you know, Luke and I have long dreamt of like the people who were in our space who are the people who you saw on BOA videos or DCI videos or WGI videos, like the people who were like they were famous. They were band famous to us, you know. And if I got a trading card with, you know, Brandon Olander or, you know, uh, any number of people, right? Um, you know, from like the people who I like sort of grew up idolizing, like I would, yeah, man, I tried to trade that thing, you know, or hold on to it hard.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I watch. I that's one of my guilty pleasures. I will watch like baseball, basketball, and Pokemon trading card
Oh,
like
yeah,
booth
you
stuff.
you do that
I
a
just like. I
lot.
don't know why. I guess it throws me back because I don't know about you, but I had a childhood that was developed around like collecting baseball cards.
Mm-hmm.
Big time. That was a huge part of my, yeah, like so I would get the Beckett every month, you know, and I mean I'm probably a little older than you, so like my trading card experience might have even been a little different, but like there were trading card shops close by, and I'd go there all the time with the Beckett, and I would highlight the cards that I had in my collection, and then I'd circle the cards that I wanted, and all those things. But that was a huge deal to like me and my friends, and I still have a ton of these cards, which I'm sure could like, you know, get somebody out of debt if I actually sold them, but I got to find them, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. That's just something I enjoy.
Do you still have yours?
I have
You had a
some.
binder.
Yeah, I have a binder.
Okay.
I mean, knowing what I know now,
You and Josh got to get
I
together
know.
and trade cards.
I mean,
Look,
it's just like there's something like nostalgic about that, in which we will come back to. Well, since we've detoured already, well, Josh, do you mind telling us about yourself, your background, education, teaching
All the
experience,
lore.
all the things?
yeah, I mean the short version is I'm from Virginia, a little county called Goochland, which is a real place. Um, I normally tell people I'm from Richmond because Goochland sounds like it's made up from like a Dr. Seuss book. But super small county, really, really beautiful in the middle of the state of Virginia. My dad was my band director. He was a band director for 36 years. And yeah, I grew up there. Did my undergrad there in Richmond at Virginia Commonwealth University. Had a great experience. I didn't actually come back. I didn't start my undergrad until I was like 6 years older. I was like 24 because I was running another company and was doing that, trying to also finish marching drum corps. But I did my undergrad there. I taught in the Richmond area and I taught in Stafford, Virginia, which is sort of in Northern Virginia. Then I moved to Florida for graduate school at the University of Florida to do my master's and my doctorate in conducting. And halfway through my doctorate, I got hired to teach at the University of Texas at Austin. So I was on the band and conducting faculty there for 8 years. Um, had an incredible time, and yeah, all while also doing the drum corps thing. Started at cadets in '02, aged out in '05, started teaching in '06, taught for a handful of years, and then went over to Bluecoats in 2013, and I've been at Bluecoats since. So I'm in a consultant role with the brass program now, and still do my fair share of designing, although less than I used to. But yeah, I'm still involved in the activity in any way that I can be. Still guest conduct a lot, and yeah, that's the short version.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like you have anything else going on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm actively looking for hobbies. So
Yeah. I have a little side gig here, a little
Yeah.
side gig there, yeah. So, okay, so your family is enriched by music. Dad was a band director. What did your mom do?
So my mom was a also she still is an incredible musician. She was a singer. That's actually how they met. They were in a rock band in the '70s. I'll let you fill in the blanks, um, but yeah, they were in a touring rock band. She's an absolute incredible guitarist and singer, and both her parents are musical, of course, and yeah, so she did that. Sort of part time while we were growing up. I spent a lot of time with her while she was performing. She would perform at our cousin has a really beautiful restaurant in the Richmond area, and she would go table to table and sing with her acoustic guitar, and she could sing you something in French or in Latin or in anything like, and it was just really magical experience to watch her like serenade these high rollers. And starting when I was 7 years old, I was in the back washing dishes for my cousin, and so like I've always been around sort of the industry side of the music piece, but also like through the restaurant thing. And yeah, so my mom stayed singing for years. And then she really spent a lot of her time just sort of raising all four boys. I mean, I have no idea how she did it to this day, um, but she still sings a little bit, not as much as she used to, but yeah, also an incredible musician.
Well, I think one of the things that I admire about you and your family is like it is a family business in a lot of ways.
Mhm.
I know your brother has taken a new position up in the Prosper area, correct? Do percussion. But not only that, but sorry, my voice is cracking. Um, like with UDB, for all those who are listening that don't understand what Ultimate Drill Book is, um, which has changed the game of the marching arts like completely. Um, some of the emails come from your mother. Is that correct?
Yeah, so she actually oversees all of our billing. And just like the first company that we ran, it was very much a family business. So we ran a family recording company for 12 years that I started when I was a junior in high school. And, but yeah, I mean, both of our parents are involved, and it means a lot, and it's cool. I mean, I talk to band directors around the world, or I go to a Midwest or TMEA, and I get to meet somebody who I've never met before. But they've been using our software, and they say like, "And is BB your mom?" And I'm like, "Yeah," And they're always like, "She was so nice." And next thing I know, I'm talking to her for 20 minutes. She's so proud of you guys, and so it means a lot. I mean, of course, for our family to be doing this together, but like it's very much a family company. and I hope that people feel that, you know, when they use our stuff or when they contact us. Um, and it means a lot. I mean, to be able to have our parents involved in the things that we're doing creatively, it's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I honestly that makes me like respect the things that you do even more so because there's still so much of a core. And that's, I mean, isn't that what we preach to our kids all the time? That band is a family, our band hall is a home for them. And like that's the mentality that we want. And as successful as your company is being, there's still at the heart of it the family aspect and the family core, which I mean, let's be honest, a lot of times when people start to break into like these large amounts of success, that that thread gets lost.
Mm.
And it's like it's cool because I've gotten emails from you and then I've gotten emails from your mother.
Yeah. Yeah, it's you know, it's a really we're super fortunate to be doing what we're doing, and you know, we've also worked super hard to get here, you know, and it's amazing how much I think we're reminded probably every day, um, you know, of like that the family, like the real family, like the actual blood family that we have, but then also the people who are on our team that are our family, like that's such a critical backbone of who we are, what we are, how we how we do things. So it's an amazing north star, if you will, you know, because when things get hairy, it's like I know that I can fall back and trust this person or whatever it is, you know. And so we're really fortunate that that's where we are, you know.
Well, and I could tell, and I think this is the reason why, like, we've been able to communicate with you and have relationships with you the way we have is because the first time that we met, really, not just on the Team EA or TBA, exhibit hall floor, but when we interviewed Reed at y'all's headquarters, and it was like, oh, make yourself at home. This is this, and y'all
Mhm.
like showed out for two people who are just small school band directors who are trying to put more content into the world where it shows like celebrates these people and the things that they're doing, and you guys treated us like we were like rock stars, and
Oh,
like that, I mean, that meant a lot to us.
sure. Well, I appreciate you sharing that. And uh, the last thing that we do it for is the recognition, but like, you know, I mean, truly, like at the heart of every decision that Luke and I made for years, and now that our team makes, like at the heart of every decision, it's like, what is best for that lone band director who's sitting in the dark waiting for, you know, two more kids' parents to pick them up before they have to come back at 4 a.m., you know, and their budget is $100 for the season, and they're just giving everything that they can to to this community that was like so influential to us coming up. And like that's 100% like honest. That's just the core of like every decision that we make. And for years, while Luke and I were building UDB, the not even the analogy, but like the situation that we would come up with when he and I were like writing drill, which we were doing for years and years and years, just to fund UDB, like just to start UDB. Um, You know, it's like if I, the drill writer, if I don't have drill to send to the band director at, you know, by 8 a.m. when they show up on the field with those kids, or 7 a.m. because they're going to make copies and print coordinates and all of those things, like if I don't have that thing ready, then like that band is going to have a worse day at band camp. And that means that like a kid could quit band. And that means that that kid might never, ever, ever, ever like be a part of the arts again. So that's not like a false pressure that we've put on ourselves. Like that's just how we feel because that's the life that we came from, you know? And so like coming back to your thing, I mean, like I would have I would have died and gone to heaven if I went somewhere like a band HQ, sort of like what we try to make the UDB studio. Like come here, make yourself at home. There's there's water, there's coffee, there's bourbon, there's like there's like please, this is your house now, you know, and it's possible because we've all done this together. So I'm rambling a little bit, but like but those are the things that are like truly like the nucleus of UDB.
And that, I think that's part of the reason why everyone has jumped on board the UDB Beam Stride TV like idea, because I mean you guys are very approachable at conferences, so that, says a lot. And y'all don't make me feel, or I've never seen y'all as like pitchmen, like,
Oh
hey,
no.
sell I'm gonna sell you this car. Have you ever seen the movie Matilda?
I haven't, but I know
Oh,
what you're talking about though.
there's a whole entire scene where the dad's like a used car salesman, and he
Uh-huh.
like, this is, you use super glue on this. That's not what it ever seems like.
He's like super gluing the car
Yeah,
together, and yeah,
I mean, oh, yeah, that's such a good movie, good
it
musical.
is. Yeah.
So let me ask you this: so, did you ever feel like the pressure just internally about like the music situation, since you came from such a musical family?
Like the pressure to participate in music,
Yes.
you know, I didn't. Our parents are just, I mean, two of the absolute greatest people, that we've ever gotten to know. Um, and there was never like we expect you to do this, or if you do this, then you'll be successful, or if you don't do this, you won't be. Um, I mean, this is just like one random example, but like my dad ran this really incredible summer music camp for about 20 years. And I was like in the first group of like 11 kids that came to it, right? And then I was in the second group and then the third group. And then like one summer I just decided, I was like, I don't know if I want to go to band camp. And it wasn't only like band camp, it was my dad's band camp that like I helped him with. And he was like, okay, you know. So there was, there was never this like sort of undue pressure or this expectation. And even when I went to school, like I mean, I have a we probably won't talk about this, but like, like I had a really interesting path after I left high school before coming back to actually doing my degree, and I was able to sit down with my parents and say, like, I think I need to leave school for a couple of years. I'm just not ready to do this. And I don't know if I'm meant to do music either. And they're like, okay, cool. Like, do you need to move in like tomorrow? Like, yeah, like it was just super easy. Um, and there's no question um, that the openness, that the trust, that the possibilities, were all there because my parents were like, look, you'll be successful in whatever you choose to do. And you'll choose how intensely you want to go after that. There was never any expectation, which is why I think each one of us has sort of gone on our own very unique path. And truthfully, I mean, it's a huge reason why the entrepreneurial thing has been like a core part of me, like ever since I was, I remember, I'll never forget, I sold my first cookie to somebody in elementary school for $8. And I was like, all right, I'm on to something, you know?
That's called a hustle.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
a hustle.
For sure. Oh, yeah, yeah. I went, and we could have a whole podcast about just sort of like my history of those kinds of things. But like, I knew from an early age, I believed from an early age that like a predetermined path was not for me. And my parents were always totally cool with that.
So, how big was the band program that you went into? Was it a large one? I mean, in comparison to Texas size, like where would it be?
So, for a little bit of context, when my dad started as the band director in Goochland County in whatever year it was, 1980, maybe, I don't know. Um, there were 7 kids in the band in the county. And the very first gig that he was like hired to do is like, all right, well, you're going to meet the band at the parade and they're going to march down the parade. And he's like walking up and down the parade route. He's looking for the band and he eventually finds somebody and he's like, hey, I can't find the band. They're like, oh no, they're on the back of the trailer, and they're like being pulled on a hay bale truck, all 7 of them. So like that's what he started with. And there were 3 elementary schools, 1 middle school, 1 high school. So he was the band director at all 5 schools in that county. And then eventually he was just the band director at the elementary and the high school, and then just at the high school. Still a super, super small school. I mean, there was only 450 kids in my school total, but we had, you know, 80, 90 kids in the band program. So, I mean, a quarter of the school, was in the band.
Yeah.
Do you think that that happened? So a 3A school in Texas sizing. Do you think that was in part with the fact that your dad stayed there for a long period of time and helped build that culture?
I'm sure that's a part of it. I mean, I think there's probably lots of reasons why it was successful in the ways that it was. We all know that like when there's a lot of turnover, like it's hard to grow anything. It's hard to even stabilize anything. So there's no doubt that his tenure, um, or his successes, I think, were one of the reasons was he just chose to commit, and ride this out. And I mean, he created a band program with, multiple concert bands, jazz band, percussion ensemble, like, I mean, a robust, like, music education experience, from a thing that he inherited with 7 kids on the back of a hay truck, so yeah.
Man, that talk about rags to riches.
Yeah.
7 kids. Woo, woo. You know it's bad, or it's not in a good situation when a hay bale is involved.
I've sat on many hay bales in my life.
Being a country kid, I know exactly.
Yeah.
There's only a few things that happen in hay bales, and being a band should not be one.
Yeah. I mean, that's just, I mean, that's that place, that was that time, and that's also my dad. I mean, my dad's super funny. Like, that's just like that explains, like, all of that stuff sort of aligns.
Yeah.
So why band
For him, for me,
for you?
you know, I'm not sure if anybody's ever asked me that, to be honest. Because of course I had the option not to do band, but like band is just, it's like even if I wasn't in band, I would have still been in band. You know what I mean? Like, because I would have, I still would have gone with my dad to everything, and he was just the band director. And all of my family on both sides play instruments. So like it was to me like the people who weren't in band were like the weird kids to me. Because I just grew up like everybody that I knew played instruments, and so when I literally, I mean, I remember being in like an elementary school and meeting like new kids. This is exciting. What instrument do you play? They're like, I don't play any instruments. I'm like, you're weird, bro. Like,
How nice is that
I know, right?
for it to be flipped on the other side? You don't play an instrument,
Loser.
weirdo. Get
Yeah.
out of here. Take your snack pack and get to the end of the cafeteria
yeah,
table.
yeah. I mean, of course, like I also was like big into sports growing up, but like but yeah, I mean, band was just that was just baked into my life. And it's it was really interesting, especially as I went through multiple degrees, and then I taught at the high school level, taught at the collegiate level. And I found myself, to be completely honest, I found myself sort of struggling with how to deal with people who like band wasn't their life, like, and excellence that, and don't take this the wrong way, but like, and then, but also like excellence in band wasn't their life, because like that was certainly a huge part of my life, excellence in band, but also like hopefully excellence in everything else. Like I'm a pretty competitive person. I'm really driven intrinsically. So as I continue to grow up, like still the people who weren't the same as me, I had to learn how to broaden my horizons, more and more and more and more, because I just was around people, all the way until, my time at the University of Texas, and I was teaching incredible kids there, and the Longhorn Band and the Longhorn Pep Band and the concert bands and the wind ensemble, like all of these incredible musicians, you know, and out of the Longhorn Band, for just as an example, like, there's 450 kids in that program, and there's like 50 music majors. So there's 400 kids there that are there just for fun and like playing their instrument. And I had to remind myself of that, like that music just meant something different to them than it did to me growing up. And it's not right or wrong. But it was just, I had to continue to learn about that. And, you know, after teaching for, it's been 20 something years now, like like I'm still learning, like, cause every generation is just different, in the way that they treat being in the band or the choir or the orchestra. It just means something different for everybody, and that's truthfully what's beautiful about it, you know? But it was tough for me coming from, like, especially coming from like this, really small, we were competitive for what we were, but then like every summer I'm trying to win a world championship at the cadets, at that
Hmm.
time, so it was hard for me to like not attach that level of intensity to everything, which I still do, but I just had to broaden my horizons on not everybody's wired that way.
Yeah, which is, I mean, it is hard. I mean, it's hard to get out of our tunnel vision. Like those horses. The race horses that have the blinders on the side. I feel like that's what we get into. Like why aren't you trying harder? And sometimes that's just understanding. Like this is it's not for everyone. It's
Not
not
everyone's
every.
wired that way.
Yeah.
Well, and and it's okay that they're not 100%. But then the other part of me is like, well, here's my chance as a band director, as a teacher, to encourage them to be like more exceptional than you ever thought you could be. Because you wouldn't ever go after this at this level by yourself. So here's my chance to try to impart that on you. And that's what makes, I think, educators actually really special, is that like every single kid, every single day, every single class, every single year is different. Like you can't approach it the same exact way because just the kids are different, the situation's different. But and even though the vast majority of your kids are not going to leave your program to major in music, how can you let this maybe be the thing that they excelled at the highest in their life, so that they can at least take that and transfer it to other things, other parts of their life,
Hmm.
personally and professionally.
So you mentioned this a little bit earlier. Were you involved in any other activities while you were in high school?
Yeah, well, I was really big into sports growing up. I played a lot of baseball, a lot of soccer. That did slow down in high school a little bit, just because band became more involved for me. If there was a band class, I was taking it, so I was in both concert bands and in jazz band and in percussion ensemble, and I was also skipping whatever class I was in just so I could go back to my dad's band hall in the study hall or whatever. Um, so, band and then drum corps really, that became my primary thing. Um, but I was also, like I was running my first company, starting when I was a junior. So I was like, I had these other things that were hobbies that I was really excited about diving into.
So, how would you say that like the program you grew up in like molded you into like the way you taught and the way you handle things now?
Yeah, I mean, there's no question that it was and still to this day is a huge part of who I am as a musician, who I am as an educator, a huge part of my philosophy as a music educator, which is like no matter who you are, what you are, how you do it, so long as you're a lifelong participant in the arts, cool. Like that's my sort of personal philosophy, right? So, you know, that program, it was a prideful community. People liked the band, but it wasn't, we weren't like the thing. But just if you had a Goochland Bulldog on your chest, people were like, "Go Bulldogs!" Like so it was cool. Everybody mattered. Um, but like who I became as an educator was hugely influenced by the way that my dad would pick repertoire, for the bands, and he was always so good. Like I truthfully, like, it would be a really cool case study to go back and look at all the programs that, like, I played in from, like, middle school all the way to high school, just so to see, like, okay, how would, like, 42-year-old Josh look at those programs now and be like, "That was really smart," like, "Okay, I see how you did that," like, our graduating class, or, like, my cohort, "Okay, I saw how you're building the skill set for the woodwind choir, and then building the skill set for the brass to be able to play this when we became seniors." So he was really good at like picking fun stuff, but picking stuff that was challenging. He was a huge believer, still is, and like you should sight read as much as humanly possible. um, and he was also a believer in like you need to just play as much music as humanly possible. So you know we didn't we didn't work on things for half a year, like, and over the course of a half a year, we would have, played 30 pieces, so all of those things have been really influential in my, I think, concepts of how to engage with student musicians at the public school level, but then also like especially when I got to the university level and I'm helping future teachers learn how to teach and how to think about programming and quality literature. You know, all of those things really played into, I think, my just the structure that I have about here's the experience that you can craft for your kids, and they can stay really excited, but you can also push them, and you can do both at the same time.
Well, we come back to that community and that community support. So, like your dad, I mean, the community had to see what was happening there, like from 7 members to like what you left it at and what your family left it at. I mean, that's pretty amazing. Like I just met a guy over at the Music for All summer camp. Great guy. Check this out. And you want to talk about committing to the community. All right. They're based, I believe, out of Iowa. And do you know what cultural influences in Iowa a whole lot?
Sure don't.
The Dutch community. All right.
I didn't know this
Yeah.
either.
I was like floored. I was like, the Dutch? I mean, but then again, Texas has, Czech German,
Yeah.
I had to explain to somebody what
Czech
kolaches
German.
was.
I'm missing out.
I know. I
Yeah.
was like, oh my goodness. I had to explain it.
They gotta go to West, Texas.
Yes. So like this guy named Dan Mangold. All right. He is at let me look it up real quick. Orange City, Iowa. And he like had this shirt on that says, the Dutchman pride. I was like, okay, tell me a story about that, man. And he told me that when they do parades, the band marches in clogs, straight up wooden clogs.
That's impressive.
And like they'll do like these giant parades, and they've gone to Disney and they've marched in clogs, and they found out the perfect way to like put them on your feet, so you'll hear the band coming down the main street and you hear this like like, and it's cool. Like I looked it up, and it's like they're marching in white clogs.
I'm trying to imagine that and then hearing like the clogs tapping and then like Seven Nation Army.
Yeah, right.
But like, I mean, that's something like we really don't realize the impact that happens in our communities, until like you're way past it, just like you look back and you analyze, just like you said, like the influences that your dad had in that scaffolding system to make the program where it eventually became.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that's really impactful. So after you started your own company, and you said it was a recording company,
Mhm.
and you went off and you did your own thing for a little while, and then you went to college, did that. And what made you decide that you wanted to do grad work?
Truthfully, that was always the plan. Even when I was sort of searching for what my path was going to be, I always believed that like I was going to be a college band director. A huge part of that was my one of my dad's brothers lives in State College, Pennsylvania, which is where Penn State is. And every fall, we would go to Penn State and we'd go to a football game. I would get to hear the Blue Band, which is their marching band, in one of the nation's absolute best collegiate music programs and marching bands. And that was really the soundtrack of my childhood. Like, I mean, I would buy the CDs they would do these big like Blue Band concerts. And I always felt like the college thing was appealing to me. The athletic thing was appealing to me. And so I remember at an early age looking at probably 50 different band directors, looking at their bios, at different, institutions. And I was like, okay, what did this person do? What did this person do? And I saw sort of this common thread that was like, okay, cool. You go to graduate school. I mean, even before I knew what graduate school was, like, this person has an advanced diploma in, or a graduate degree, or a doctorate, like, so I'm like learning these buzzwords just at that time. Okay, cool. And the majority of them were, had masters in conducting. Okay, cool. What kinds of schools did they go to? Most of the people who I was sort of trying to emulate, they were all at sort of Division 1, Research 1 institutions. Okay, cool. Then that's sort of what I want to have my sights set on. And then I sort of pieced together over the years, like, cool, this is the path that makes sense to me. Um, I was really fortunate to have, in our backyard, sort of downtown Richmond, was Virginia Commonwealth University, which is where my dad was also doing his master's at the time. And so I got to experience that a little bit, through him. But one of my mentors, who was the director of bands there, Dr. Terry Austin, he was always a huge supporter of me as like an individual musician, but then also, I was able to sit down and like buy him coffee and say like, if I think I want to be a college band director, what should I do? And so all of those things sort of pointed me towards like do a graduate school at this kind of place, and then make sure that you have these other experiences. So that just became my checklist.
And then you found yourself at the University of Texas in Austin. That's an important part. Can you tell us about like that, about your time there, and like how that molded you or how you thought that was special?
Yeah, I mean, um, there's so much that could go into even just this part of the conversation, but certainly anybody who's remotely aware of things in our profession is aware of the work of UT Austin and the people who have come through there. And truthfully, like almost since day one, like I had my sights set on like, man, if I could end up at like a place like UT, right? That was sort of like always the thing. Um, and it also checked all of these other boxes personally. Like, cool, like this is the kind of area that I want to live in. This is the kind of institution I want to teach at. Like, I want to be in a school where like academics are really strong, where athletics are really strong, where musicianship is top notch. So, over the years, prior to my arrival, I had some, connections to the program. Of course, I had done a conducting workshop where Jerry, he was a guest clinician at, so I got to work with him there. And then a couple years later, total happenstance, my brother Luke was doing his master's at UT, and they were doing a thing with the Dallas Winds, and they needed this arrangement done of this piece, and something fell through. And I fancied myself an arranger. Um, I had been doing it, at a pretty high level for a couple of years. And so Luke reached out and said, like, hey, something fell through. Dallas Winds need this piece like tomorrow. Is there any way you can do it? And I was like, I'll make it happen, and I stayed up all night and did the thing, and sent it off. And Jerry was like, wow, this is really good. I want to use it for something else. And, so like I had these like little connection points. And then later, I guess it was maybe later that year or the following year, I actually, I heard from Rob Carnahan, who was the associate director of bands at the time, who then went to Miami and who has since passed, and was just an incredible person and mentor to so many people in the field. Um, I knew that he was going to be leaving the position at UT, and I was encouraged to apply. And I sent Jerry a message, and he responded. He said, "I'm actually in the middle of a tornado or a tsunami in Japan, but I'll get back to you." And a couple weeks later, I was doing a recording session out in Austin, and I sat down to sort of do an interview. And a couple weeks later, I was offered the job. And so, anyways, that's sort of a long answer just to talk to you about getting to UT. So like in some ways it was like, man, just the stars totally aligned. It's also what I dreamt of for years, and I was prepared. And when the job was offered to me, I mean, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. And it's the kind of job, and I knew this going in, but I was reminded of this every year. This is the kind of job that a lot of people like they would wait their entire career to try to be at a place like this, go to school at a place like this, let alone teach, and be as a part of the historical faculty. So I had an incredible experience there. My colleagues were absolutely amazing. Working with Jerry was great. Scott Hanna, Ryan Kelly. I mean, the list goes on. Cliff Crooms, Drew Dickey, but also the other faculty there. The names who have shaped our industry. Donald Grantham and now Omar Thomas. Like those are people who were I would see while I'm getting coffee. And like I could they were me. I was them. Like we were part of it together. And it was just really a magical time. And it was challenging. I mean, you work super hard and you feel the pressure, to operate at the highest level, and you're constantly learning, and every minute is different. But you're also like simultaneously, you're also like on the top of the world, and so it's just, I mean, I would still be doing it right now if I didn't have the UDB thing going on. I mean, it was an incredible experience, and I could have easily stayed there for the rest of my life, of course. But the goal was always to be a college band director at the highest level, and then go and do my own thing. And so that's I'm fortunate, but that's what I'm doing.
So, what were all your responsibilities while you were at UT?
So I was hired initially as the assistant director of bands. And my first year, I was the assistant director of the Longhorn Band. I oversaw the pep band, or the director of the Longhorn Pep Band. I taught an undergraduate conducting class. I taught marching band techniques. I oversaw the 4 concert bands that we have. So there's 3 primary concert or wind ensembles in the fall, and in the spring there's 7 concert ensembles. And so I oversaw 4 of those with the graduate conducting students. And then I started teaching. After that year, I started teaching some graduate classes. So I taught graduate wood literature, which I was really, really passionate about. I still am. I started teaching some more conducting classes. I continued to teach marching band techniques. The Longhorn Pep Band started to grow a lot there, and so I was able to get an assistant for that position. So yeah, so that was generally sort of the makeup of what I did. I was also in charge of a lot of sort of the internal and external marketing and messaging, because I have experience in that world. So that was also a big part of what I did. And um, my role generally stayed around those things, but starting my second or third year, I became the associate director of the Longhorn Band. So I moved up into that position, and still did academic classes. Everybody there teaches an academic something that's really important. But yeah, that was my general makeup.
Did you ever wear a burnt orange suit?
Burnt orange suit, no. Um, Burnt orange everything, yes, but I never had a full suit. Um, I mean, I did wear cowboy boots, which I'm not sure if I ever thought was going to happen. Um, I did get a really nice belt buckle. I never thought that was going to happen, um, but never a burnt orange suit.
Uh,
There's still time.
yeah,
There's still
there's
time.
still plenty of
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Well, because you have been associated with the athletic bands, you were gifted some national championship merch or memorabilia. How many championship rings do you have, Josh?
Like in total,
Yes.
for 5, I think 5 or 6. So yeah, I was really fortunate. I mean, between like drum corps and that, but yeah, I had an incredible experience um, with all of the athletic people there. Still to this day, I mean, I'm on a regular text thread with the men's basketball coach, the women's basketball coach, his assistants. I just had dinner and drinks with the volleyball coach, who I'm super close with, and he gifted me, like, they just won 2 back-to-back national championships, and he gifted me, rings with that, just like the team got, so yeah, I mean, we were very, very close, and that was a huge part of just my belief there. Like, I just it doesn't it never made sense to me to like just be the band that's playing music at the place. It's like, no, we are there with you. We're going into battle with you. We are going to get you extra points. We're going to make the other team foul. Like we are part of this thing. And I think that the coaches felt that, and that's I certainly didn't do that to get a national championship ring or 2, but but that happened, and it's more symbolic, I think, of just like our relationship.
Well, that
Yeah,
I think that's something that a lot of band directors don't like fully buy into, is like you are there to like really rev up the troops.
Mm.
Like we have a stand tune that our football team and our student population really love, and I play it every single chance I pretty much get. to the dismay of sometimes the band kids, and sometimes
They like it.
they're hyped for it.
They
But I mean, once you start ingraining that culture, that idea of like we're in this
Yeah.
together, things just work easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it was a huge part of like so every single semester we started um we started our rehearsal cycle, not rehearsing, but talking about why we're here. Like I'm a big like why guy, right? I'm just a believer that like if you know why, then you can achieve higher, earlier, and for longer. And like, and you could be blunt with not everybody is, but like I had to be blunt with these kids. It's like, guys, like the pep band just doesn't like we don't exist just because. Like we exist to play at the volleyball game. We exist to play at the basketball game. And that's not a bad thing. Like we are actually bestowed that honor. Okay, cool. So now how do we take it and like make it unique? And look, this is a whole nother podcast that we could talk about like your role in the game atmosphere and you know, like but I had those kids like they were like ready to like eat raw meat at the game and like they were just like they were looking up the opposing teams like, you know, who's this person's boyfriend and girlfriend? Like, what class did they just, get out of and like take this test? They're like stalking kids on, the other team members on Instagram. And they're like, I heard you failed chemistry, like whatever it is. Like, you know, because like we understood that like we have to be the single best element in that atmosphere because you band kid A, you're not allowed to complain about the fans, like sitting on their hands or like not getting into it if you're not like 1,000,000,000% into it. Because if I'm just a regular fan and I'm looking at the band and you guys are sleepy, of course I'm not going to get into it. So like we did probably hundreds of different ideas about like how to be unique, And again, this is a whole podcast, right? But like it sort of goes back to like some of my beliefs about like if you're gonna do something, let's max it out, and like let's just go hard, let's roll up the sleeves. Like it'll be a little messy, but we're gonna try something. And people saw that. And I mean, I'll never forget like there's so many different instances. And here I am, traveling with the University of Texas on a private plane, going to this thing, and and the coach tells the team, "Hey, you guys sit down. Band, you're getting off the bus first. You guys go check in the hotel first. My players are going to wait." And then like when we're leaving Stanford after this giant volleyball match, Jared Elliott, the volleyball coach, runs down the hallway to come get the band and brings the band into this tiny little locker room with the volleyball team that just won. And we're like, just, you would have thought we, you know, won a world championship, but like when you can put yourself out there at that level, that intensity, people can feel it. Whether they like it or not, that's up to them, but like you can't fault somebody for going that hard. And then when you do that, then other things fall into place. And so I think that's sort of the root of it all for me.
Man, that's a diamond piece of information right there.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to hear that.
Yeah.
That is like that is great. That is fantastic. So like you did the band directing thing for a hot second before that in like public ed, correct?
Mhm.
So how did you take some of the lessons that you had learned as a public educator and applied them to how you were trying to mold the next generation of music educators?
Truthfully, like because I didn't come from well, let me be clear. I came from great programs. But I didn't come from anything that was like turnkey. Like we had to work super hard for whatever we achieved, whatever we went after. So when it came time for me to teach tomorrow's teachers, like teach these students at the university level or, go and do a guest conducting gig, or if I'm doing a professional development day, with teachers, like my feet were like always so much more grounded and like, look, anything's possible. And like when I was teaching the marching band techniques class at UT, I'm like, let's just get this all, let's go ahead and get this out in the open. Not all of you are going to be band directors at Vandergrift High School next year, or at Avon High School or Carmel or blah, 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 fill in the blank. Right. So when you're thinking about designing, your marching band show and what that's going to be like, the exercise is going to be like, here's your budget. It's $1,000. How do you make it? So like I felt like I was able to bring all of these like not turnkey situations, you know, into reality and say like, look, you're gonna have to get scrappy. And I would talk all the time, both about the school that I went to and the schools that I taught. But like the school that I went to, my dad being a band director, like his budget from the county was $60, like
Ugh.
to run the band program for the year. And when he was like, "What? Where did you get $60 from? Like, where does that number even come from?" And they said, "Well, we looked online and we saw a score, and a score has all the instruments, and that's like $55, so plus shipping." Like that's who he was dealing with, you know. And so, like, to do anything that cost more than $60, right? He had to fundraise that, and we weren't like, I mean, look, we did our like sell candy bars kind of thing, but like he had to get scrappy. We were literally like making Brunswick stew in the parking lot and selling it like out of the back of a car like gangsters. We were we would literally like one of our biggest fundraisers is we would make sub sandwiches like and we would sell them not just to like the teachers in the school, but like kids were buying like we were like politely, like forcing kids, we were like, look, don't buy lunch next, like don't buy lunch tomorrow, buy a sub from the band, like get off your 375, like let's go, but like, and then we eventually started like, doing that county wide. So we would make, three, four, 500, 1,000 sandwiches sometimes, like just to like hustle and make this thing. So like all that being said is like everywhere that I came from had to learn how to be scrappy. You had to learn how to be successful despite everything else that was in front of you. And so to come back to your question, like those are the things that I would bring to my students in music education classes, whether it was conducting, and of course, like, hey, this is awesome. The next time that you conduct the UT Wind Ensemble will probably be never. Like next year when you graduate, you're going to have three oboes, and none of them will actually work. You'll have to put all three of them together to make half of an oboe that works, like, so like I was able to bring sort of this, I think, maybe too real of an angle to things, just because I just never came from a thing that was like that, even at the cadets. Like we weren't the cadets because like people before us won championships. We were the cadets because we worked harder than anybody else. And that's only something you could do right now, So like that's all I knew. That's all I know. So I was always focused on bringing a level of reality while also encouraging people to dream. So I don't know if that answers your question, but
No,
like,
that's like somebody's spitting diamonds around here. Like, oh my, I'm also getting like this like Gall family mafia vibe right now. Like, get your sub, get your sub right now, gabagool. Like,
Uh, the three oboes into one working or half a working oboe is so real.
when you say that, one of my good friends who I actually marched with 20 years ago, and I do some work with his band out in Mississippi. His nickname for me is Band Capone, and
all
so
right, see.
I sort of like it. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, that's
I'm
yeah,
getting a lot of like cover art ideas
yeah. I
right
know
now.
Yeah,
right now.
yeah.
So you've touched on this several times already. You have a fantastic DCI journey. Can you tell us about your journey through the marching arts?
Yeah, yeah. So I started marching cadets in 2002. Um, and I had a great first year. I think anybody who's marching a drum corps at that level, especially for the first time, you're just trying to survive. So like I was fortunate to have 3 more years after that. So I marched '02, '03, '04, started '05, had to leave to have surgery, and then came back in '05 and aged out. Um, and then it was interesting because for as much as I loved performing, I always knew that the reason why I wanted to perform at the highest level is so that I could teach at the highest level. There's some people who are just like cut out for performing, and I enjoyed it and I was good at it, but it wasn't like my everything. you know. So, anyways, cadets just felt like this is the place where I can work the hardest and I can achieve sort of the impossible. That was my perception, right? So, anyways, I was there for 4 years as a member, and then started teaching in 2006. So I was really fortunate to go from agent out directly to teaching. So I taught there for a few years on the brass staff. I learned a ton, um, probably more than I'll ever realize. The lessons that I learned from that were significant, and I was around the best teachers and designers in the world. Whether it's Jay Bocook, who's writing our brass book, or Jeff Saktik, who's writing the drill, or Gino Cipriani, who's teaching the brass, or Tom Ungst, who's teaching the percussion, or Colin McNutt, who's teaching the percussion. Like, these people were just on the bus next to me, and I was absorbing everything that came my way. So I taught there for a couple of years, and then took a year or two off, and then in 2013 there was a slow migration of cadets of my generation to the Bluecoats. And I was just telling the story the other day, but I sent a text to the caption head, who his name is Derek Gibson, who's still the brass. He oversees the entire brass program at Bluecoats and has since that time. But he was the mellophone tech at cadets while I was marching. And I texted him. I said, "Dude, happy birthday. Hope you're doing well. Congrats on the work at Bluecoats." He said, "Thanks so much. Any chance you're available to teach?" And I said, "Yeah, like when?" He was like, "Tomorrow." So I got on a plane and went out and started my first time with the Bluecoats. So I've been involved with the Bluecoats since 2013. Um, you know, from it, whatever they need. If they need me to teach the tubas, great. Need me to teach the trumpets, great. You need me to be in the press box, great. So I'm just really fortunate that they sort of still let me hang out, and I have an incredible time. I was just there with them a couple days ago. And to this day, I continue to say, like, it's the most professional place I've ever been. It's just, the people are world class. The trust is like through the roof. And it's really, really special. So, I do whatever I can to stay involved there. I had a couple year stint also working with Genesis while I was teaching cadets. I wrote their drill and programmed for them for a couple of years, and it was the first year that we medaled. We did that a couple of years back to back. That was a great run. Um, and also in 2006, while teaching cadets, I was also teaching Crossmen literally at the same time. So that's my drum corps history, and it's 23 years later, which is super wild.
So you had no free time during the summer.
No, definitely not. And that's especially like, that's when I was, well, the 4 years that I was marching, I was still running my company. So I would literally, like, I would leave visual block in the morning, and I'd go get my peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and I would get on business phone calls to, like, organize these recording sessions, for the first 4 years that I was marching. And then I started writing a bunch of drill. And this is like like good Wi-Fi days, like you couldn't tether from your phone. Like you had a flip phone. You can't tether from that thing, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so I would literally write drill on the bus all night until my laptop battery would die. And then we would pull into a housing site, and then I would go like a creeper walking through people's neighborhoods looking for open Wi-Fi so I could, like, send drill at like 3 a.m. from some dude's backyard, like. So yeah, that was my life for a bunch of years.
That's crazy.
Man, like grit. Like that is like get down in the weeds grit. And like there sometimes people just don't realize, the work that people put in behind the scenes, or like the dues that they pay to get where they're at.
Oh, yeah.
Like I had and I might have talked about this beforehand, but I had a drum major a few years ago. She's gonna be doing, no, she was in the elementary music teacher this past
Now
year,
she's going to do band.
and now she's gonna do band and elementary music. But her, like, when she was our drum major, all state flute player, fantastic kid, but everyone had this like perception of her that she was just good.
It's like
And
that's just how she
yeah,
was. It
that's
came
the way
naturally.
and she would get so frustrated because nobody saw the hours of preparation and practice and just doing the things that weren't enjoyable to
The
be
behind the
yeah,
scenes,
to
yeah.
be successful. And that gets lost on a lot of people because probably now in your position people go like, oh, he was a band director at the University of Texas and now he's at UDB, he's had it easy, and people don't know that about you just because they just don't know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's, I mean, I'm sure that that's something that like is globally an issue, like not
Yeah.
just in the band. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Like it's so easy to look at somebody and just underestimate what it took to get them there, and then like overestimate like how easy that was. You know what I mean? Like sort of it's this weird dichotomy of like, oh, that person's always had it easy. Like they never had it. It's like you have no idea, you know. So anyways, it's really tough. And you sort of talking about the UV thing, but like, it's really funny, like especially the past couple of years, when people like either come up to us in Midwest or TMEA or get on a phone call and they're like, man, you guys blew up overnight. It's like we're 15 years into this thing. Like every summer, every penny that I made was like going into UDB, like so um and that because that's not an important part of the story, like that people should know. Like we want them to feel like, man, this thing just fell out, this app fell out of the sky and it's incredible. Like that's what we want for people to feel. um so it's wild. Yeah, it's really wild. But yeah, I mean, look, I mean, the things that we had to do, nothing ever illegal, the things that we had to do, you know, to like to bring this thing to life, and to like cut our teeth as drill writers and music arrangers. For years, I was writing 16 and 17 shows, drill and music, and spending $0 of that and just put it all into UDB, just to start this thing with my brother. And he was doing the same exact thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that's just what it took, and I think that, like, that's one of the things certainly that our upbringing set us up for, but the cadets really taught us. They're like, it doesn't matter what it is. That's just what it takes. Yeah.
You said you aged out in '05.
Yeah.
That my first drum corps show ever that I went to was 2005 San Antonio.
Oh, wow.
And my mind was blown by the cadets show. This
Yeah.
is like the first time because I went to a really tiny school, and that's the first time I was in 7th grade. That was the first time that I'd ever seen anything like that, and I was just like, "What just happened?"
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's a
I'll
very
never,
formative thing.
yeah, 100%. I mean, my same version of that, um, was in 1998, the first time I saw a show live, and like, and everything about my life changed that night, and I mean, I could give you a play by play that whole night. Like, and I know, like, just all of those things, including the emotions, because that's really what stuck with me. But it's amazing what that can do. And to be honest, I mean, like, of course, it's something we think about, but like, Luke and I literally this morning we were talking about, hey, what if we gave a bunch of free tickets away to like DCI finals? Just but like the only caveat is like you're not allowed to have ever been to a drum corps show. Like that could like change somebody's life forever, you know? Um, so it's something that we're reminded of, but I don't know if we'll ever truly remember the impact, if that you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and it's huge. It's just absolutely huge.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite marching show that you did?
As a performer or
Yes.
as a teacher?
Let's do first a performer. We're gonna do both.
So this is probably not what you're looking for, but I'll answer it this way anyways. When I was a junior in high school, um, I was the I was the drum major of the band, but also played percussion, like I told you, earlier. And so we would get to the percussion feature in the show, and I would leave the podium, and then I would play I'd play timpani for this one feature. And I remember so vividly, like watching the show, like we're starting the show and like this thunderstorm is rolling in. I'm like, that's gonna be here before we know it. And we get to the drum feature, the storm starts, there's water all over the timpani, but like the show's got to go on. And I just remember feeling this moment of like, I can either like walk away, like I can stop, or I can turn around and feel weird, or I can like totally own this with everybody else. So like that's like a core performance memory that I'll always remember. Um, as like a more mature performer, um, in 2002, again, which was my first year at Cadets. One of the things that was told to us, because we had this part of the show where we played boogie woogie, and it was really spectacular, and the crowd would just lose their mind. And we were told like there's going to be a crowd one time that you guys are going to perform for, that they're going to go so crazy that you're going to forget that you still have another part of the show to do, because like we had like a whole closer after boogie woogie, and that happened in Philadelphia that year. And I remember feeling like, wow, this is what it's like to like take control of something. So those are really formative performance memories for me. Yeah, as a teacher, man, the strongest drum corps I've ever taught in my life was the 2007 Cadets. And that was just the most machine-like thing I've ever been around. I mean, just those kids were just totally raw. Like, like for PT every morning, like they didn't stretch and run. Like there was a guy who was a famous visual instructor who was in the Army for a bunch of years, and he would like line them up on the end zone and make them bear crawl with people on their back.
Oh,
You know,
God.
like that was the kind of like training that we went through, because we were doing this show that was like 14 minutes long with no ballad, and the closer, the slowest tempo in that show was like 176, right? And the closer was like 220, So anyways, but like that, we could I could talk through every count of that show and tell you about exactly what the challenges were, but that was the most lethal drum corps I've ever taught. I've had some really incredible experiences. Our first world championship at Blue Coats was really special, 2016. And every corps has been special for different reasons, but those really stand out.
Yeah.
You know that we just talked about this, but have you ever seen Starship Troopers?
No, I haven't.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
not like a good like show or movie person. We could talk about some shows, but like I'm not like that's just not been like a huge part of like me.
Well, it's
Yeah.
because you're too busy
He's been too
hustling.
busy, yeah.
I know.
Maybe so, yeah.
There's a scene about a drill sergeant. He's like, he turns around and they're going into battle, and he goes, "You want to live forever?" That's the vibe that I get from that. It's like, do you turn around, like, do you want to live forever and just like get down and dirty, just like do the thing?
Yeah, yeah. If for anybody who's listening, if you're not familiar with the Cadets 2007 program, put it on and strap in. Even if you don't like the show, like you can't deny the performance quality of that drum corps, and like it's just unbelievable. That, for reference, one of the things that we decided to do early that year is like we chose not to like not really talk about dynamics, because like everything was just sort of loud. Of course, we had variations in dynamic, right? But like we would get this decibel meter that you would use, but like for like super, super, super high decibels, like things that would measure like a jet engine, right? And at certain parts of the show, we had like 7 or 8 of these moments, but we would sit on the drum major podium, and I was in charge of this. So I'd sit on the drum major podium with this decibel reader, and we would get to this moment, and like, all right, here's the first hit in the opener. And it was like, all right, cool. Like we played, it was clean, but like, what was the volume? And I'd be like, that was 131 decibels. And we'd be like, yesterday was 132, reset, and like, eventually I just started making up numbers, or like if the batteries died, I'd be like, yeah, that was pretty weak. Let's reset, like, and like that. I mean, if you go back, if you listen to that first hit in symphonic movement by Nellie Bell in part one of that show. That's the loudest thing I've ever heard in my life, and it was in the key of G. I mean, it was just raunch. I mean, it was incredible. But that was just another example of like what how we approached that show, and it's unbelievable. I mean, that drum corps was absolutely lethal.
Man, I'm gonna
That's
have to go. I'm
awesome.
gonna have to
Yeah,
go
we're gonna
back.
have to go
Yeah,
watch.
like right after we're done after this. So, do you have a favorite part of the marching arts? Just like anything that you go like, this is my favorite part.
That's a pretty broad question. I mean, like you mean like could it be the family? Could it be the
That's
like
up to you. Like my favorite part is definitely like the end of the first like competition. Like that is my favorite part. Like seeing the kids or the first full run when the kids realize like we have it on the field.
yeah, those are certainly all special. Don't know if I could pinpoint a singular thing. It's really sort of a combination of things. Like I love I love seeing somebody and then of course a group of people go through like this is impossible. I'm going to quit.
Hmm.
I can't stop doing this. That's what I'm addicted to is like that process. You know, like I don't ever like watching, somebody cry, but like I know that like you're going to get past this and we're going to do this together and like you're going to wake up tomorrow somehow believing that the thing that you were really worried about like is possible. Like I love that. And then of course how that manifests itself, is putting together a performance that's legendary. But then, at the end of the season, like there's nothing I've ever felt like, at the end of the season and like it's over, and like you're never gonna feel that like that show will never exist again. That drum corps will never exist. Like we literally just played the last sound that the 2007 cadets will ever have in the history of forever. And like what that means emotionally is like that also is like that's the only thing that has ever created that feeling for me, where you're just so overwhelmed and you're sad but you're happy and like you're just crying uncontrollably. Like I've 20 some years of those, those in some way shape or form. So that might be my favorite part, just sort of like how those emotions can be so intense and make you doubt yourself at such a high level. But then so long as you have the right people around you, like you wake up eventually when like one day you're like, I got this. Sit down. Like I
Yeah.
got this, like and like I just love seeing that and feeling that transformation.
Does your band budget feel like it's stuck on repeat? Same old fundraiser, same week results? It's time to change the rhythm. Fan Pledge with Sean Murphy brings the beat back with fun, fast, and effective fundraising. No product sales, no deliveries, and if you don't raise at least 10% more than your current donation based fundraiser, it's free. Call Sean at 903-948-7348. Fan Pledge, the choice of champions.
So now, in the position that you're making such you and your brother and your company and just like your family is creating such a huge influence on our community through a service you are providing that is called UDB Ultimate Drill Book. Our band kids called it UDBAP, just
Cool.
like that, UDBAP.
I
And
like it.
so, can how did that start?
Yeah. I think, just sort of like anything else. I mean, it was a collection of different ideas and experiences. Certainly the company itself didn't start until 2010, but when I my first year marching at cadets, they gave us like a dot book layout that they said, you're responsible for making your own dot book. So go to Kinkos, make 3 or 4 dot books because like it's gonna rain and it's gonna mess it up. So you're gonna have to rewrite it. And I was like, that's stupid. So like maybe maybe we could find something that's more durable. So my first year, I ended up finding this waterproof ink that you could print with. And so I ended up like selling a bunch of those to marchers while I was there. And then my brothers took that and like ran with it while they were marching because they both marched cadets as well. And then it really sort of culminated when we got to 2010, and my brother Luke, who's co-founder of UDB with me, he was a member of the U.S. Army All-American Marching Band, which no longer is around, unfortunately. But it was a band that was made up of like all these rock star high school kids from around the country, and they were flown into San Antonio to put together a show in a week and and they were using this special drill book plugin from Pieware. And I remember seeing what he had learned with, and he and I, were big band kids, drum corps kids, at that time. Interestingly, as a senior in high school, like he had already marched drum corps for like 4 years. So like we sort of had all of these things coming together, and eventually we're like, wait a second, we could package this, we can put this into something else. So our very first version of anything were books, which is why we're called Ultimate Drill Book. And very quickly we learned how to, apply all right, let's print with like a more durable ink. All right, let's print on more durable paper. Let's not use spiral bound, or let's not use like ring binders. We'll use spiral bounds, and for a year or two, whatever it was, like, we would stay up all night, every night at Kinkos, and they would literally be printing off individual drill books. So like, all right, Alexa, you would get this drill book. Jose, you would get this drill book. And these weren't like dot books where you'd fill out. These are drill books that were pre-filled out for you.
Wow.
We would print tens of thousands of these things, and we get band directors to like send us lists of like, what are your kids' names? And we would like write each kid's names on the books and customize it. And we would individually bubble wrap. And, there's pictures, which I'll show you at some point, but like the early days of UDB were like pretty, we were just making it happen. Right. And
Scrappy, as you would
we
say.
were
Scrappy.
Yeah. So anyways, like that was the very beginning of us, and then in 2013, we decided, hey, like there could be an app for this. And so we started down that path. And 3 years later, we had sort of the first version of our app, which came out 2015, going into 2016. And then 2017, we partnered up with Pieware. And I'm gonna say the rest is history, but like that was sort of the next, next formative thing for our company. So the app that people use today is still like an iteration of what it was in 2017, which is cool that it's lasted this long and it's still relevant. But we have been working on the next version of UDB that'll come out next year for like 5 or 6 years already. So like we're building this much, much, much larger platform that allows for integration with Beam and stridetv and this other thing that we're working on that I can't really talk about. And we're trying to bring what UDB taught us, to the choir room, to the orchestra room, to the mariachi ensemble, to the jazz band, to the adult choir, to the church choir. Not with the drill side of things, right? But with Beam.
I really want to see
a church choir.
Church choir.
Yeah. The ultimate drill nannies, ultimate drill, whatever.
Yeah,
I'll work on that.
They always sing so high and it's like, oh,
The church lady vibrato.
Oh yeah, that's glorious.
Yeah.
Well, I remember when you guys started showing up at convention and being in a small booth pressed against the wall at Team EA versus the booth you have now. And y'all's big selling point was that you had this container of water.
Yeah, it's a fish tank.
Yep. And you had the drill book inside there, and you would be like, look, check this out. I remember that vividly. And I remember going like, that's an interesting concept.
Yeah. I mean, literally the first, there's pictures of this too. Like even pre fish tank, we we were on like the end 12 inches of like the Genesis booth at TMEA. Um, and Luke and I are standing there like stiff with like suits, like saying like we sell drill books, like we didn't know, we didn't know what to do yet, and then the next year, we through lots of different things, we were like, all right, cool, like if we're gonna do this, like we have to like we're inventing this as we go. Like people don't know that they need drill books. Like people didn't know that there was a problem. It was just like, yeah, coordinate sheets suck, but like that's the norm, right? So yeah, so like the next iteration was people would literally be walking down the aisle, and I would be holding a drill book and I'd say, hey, come here, hold this, and they would just like grab it, and I would like shake it, and of course it would come out of their hand. I said, no, like really hold it, like hold on to it, like I'm going to try to rip it, and I would shake it. We would both do this, right? And it was just a conversation starter. I didn't know if they were a band director. They could have been a parent. They could have been a choir person, but like in the off chance that they were a band director, then at least I was like, they're like, all right, why does that matter? I'm like, how do you teach drill? And they're like, I'm a choir director. You're like, all right, have a good day. You know, uh, but like if it was a band director, then like that's how we would start, because we were trying to showcase the durability, of the experience, which then turned into the fish tanks, which was a staple for us, and still to this day, there's people who are like, I remember seeing that Santa Clara Vanguard book and the green fish tank, and actually we're going to put those back up in our studio here in a couple of months. um, so yeah, that then turned into like if you look us up on YouTube, like typing UDB stress test, you'll see like Luke in Australia, or like he's swimming in the ocean, or me dragging an ultimate dot book down a mountain, driving a go-kart in Austria, like to show how durable it is. Right. So we were just like, we were doing everything that we could to sell the product without selling the product, and that's the beginning.
Yeah, you should have those running in the booth at TBA and TMEA, just like on a loop, so people like remember. Like that'd be funny.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure that will happen soon.
Yeah, just like one of those like they don't make commercials the way they used to. You know what I mean? Like the
Mhm.
Super Bowl commercials. People complain about that all the time, but like an ultimate drill book, like commercial reel needs to happen. I think that'd be great.
That'd be fun.
I mean, so how do you think it's changed the marching arts like going forward?
Probably in a number of ways, man. On the surface level, and the thing that's absolutely the most important is we think that it's just made people's lives easier. Like, um, and that truly is like the most important thing to us. So, like, if you're a competitive group, you want your life to be easier. If you're not a competitive group, you also want your life to be easier. And we know how hard the gig is. Like like this is going to sound weird, but you'll know exactly what I'm saying. Like, and today, I mean, I probably took 2 or 3 different phone calls where I'm like, I pick up the phone, Ultimate Drill Book, this is Josh, and I hear in the background a metronome. I hear some awful concert Fs, or I hear like some 8 on a hand, and I hear a band director who's like, yeah, I'm trying to place my order. Like, trying to get this in before a fiscal year. Like, I know in my heart of hearts how that person is feeling. I know what it's like to sit in your steamy band room, or like the air conditioning's out or the Wi-Fi's out, and like kids aren't getting picked up. Like I know what that's like, to be on that side. So like it gives us so much pleasure, if that's the right word, to be hopefully an easy part of their life, you know. And if this means that like you have 30 more minutes, with your kid in the morning because you don't have to show up and print and copy drill, like that's meaningful to us. If it speaks to a kid who is like would otherwise like stand there on the 110 degree blacktop with a coordinate sheet and they're like, this sucks. This is not what I joined band for. But now there's an app that's like sort of gamified the experience. Like that's what we're there for. So like I think that we're really conscious about all of the different facets that this hopefully contributes to. We think that it's allowing programs to be better than they've ever been. Like I really, really excitedly look at the very first drum corps show of the season and the first high school band show of the season. I'm like, these bands are way better than they were 15 years ago. Their first show of the season. Some of these bands are way better than they were at the end of the season as their first show. And there's lots of pieces to that. But if we can be a part of that solution, and one of the things that has sort of been this like internal dialogue for us recently is like, how baked into your life can we be, but how quiet can we be about it? Like we just want to be the thing that just works. I know if I talk to the UDB guys, things are gonna be cool. I know that if I open up Beam, it's gonna work really well. I know if I'm gonna open up stridetv, the content's gonna be high quality. Like those are things that like we really take seriously. So we're just trying to be that for people. So I think to answer your question, like I'm hoping that we have helped in a lot of ways legitimize, what we do as music educators. Because like if you look at all these other professions out there, like look at the tools that they have available to them, and then look at what I think music educators traditionally have to deal with. Like the joke that we make, and you've probably heard me say this a bunch, but like, Luke and I say like we're trying to quickly bring music education into the 1990s.
Yeah.
Like like how many other classes, do you have their own copy machine with like papers everywhere, or hey, here's the textbook, I'm going to pass it out to you, like versus like it's online, it's just pull out your Chromebook. Like it's just amazing in so many ways how I won't say behind, you know what I mean? But like we take so much pride in like saying like, look, I'm a band director, and like this app like that like my kids use, like just like any other app that they would use, like as part of their daily life to track their blood sugar or to like communicate with their parents in an emergency. Like we are part of that, and so I think that the biggest takeaway is like we're hoping that we can just sort of legitimize the experience so that people feel like, man, this is worth it. Like I do have more tools at my disposal. I think that there's lots of nuance to that. I love the fact that people are thinking about crossing counts. I love the fact that like people are watching the animation or slowing it down, or like all of these other little things. But like from a holistic perspective, like that's what's like most important to us. All the other stuff are just like that's just like how we get there, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, and the way y'all have expanded into Beam,
Hmm.
we went ahead and hopped on the Beam train this past year, or this
This,
summer actually.
yeah, currently.
Yeah, currently, and like the application for that is like amazing because I can write in, like, do this, like change this, dynamic, do this, and you can push it out to the kids without ever having to worry about, "Well, did they really write that in?" That type of thing, and make things so much easier. Like we're in the stands, and I can call up, our big one is called Bone Crusher. Call up Bone Crusher, and instead of having to worry about if a kid heard me, I can go boop, and it just pushes it to their phone. And so like that's really, really like innovative stuff that's going to make life, like you said, that much easier for people. And we also just upgraded to Stride TV.
But yeah, yeah.
And so we're going to be watching the documentary that's on there here pretty soon, which is like another behind the scenes process that like a lot of people don't always have the opportunity to see how things develop, or how like the impact of drum corps can be like such a life-changing thing for people.
Yeah, well, it's cool because I think that this sort of goes back to one of the things we were talking about earlier, but like just watching anybody be like the best in the world at something is cool. Not enough people have figured out how to put a spotlight on that in our space. You know what I mean? Like, look, there's American Idol, which is like chock full of awful singers, and then there's some good singers. Like, and I'll admit, like, I actually really like American Idol. It's like a guilty pleasure, like at least the audition part. People are sad. I'm less involved, but like the audition part's cool. Um, um, It's literally actually like the only show I watch. Like, I mean, I watch sports and stuff, but like, it's it's just wild to us that like no one has like sort of put a spotlight on our space in a way that like other things have. I mean, like, dude, on ESPN, there was literally like a pillow fight championship.
I saw that. I
Like,
was wondering about. I was like, "What are
totally
we
cool.
doing?"
Like, I'm happy for them, but like, why is drum corps not on, or why is
Yeah.
BOA? And I sort of know the answer, but like, guys, like, let's get past that. Like, you know, what we are doing is like not only like incredibly spectacular, and it's like, art at a really high level. It's also like changing people's lives. So like, so like Stride TV, we think is gonna. We dream of that being maybe the catalyst for putting a spotlight on not only band but the arts. Like we want for Stride TV to be like Netflix, but for the arts. So culinary arts, visual arts, you know, musical arts, blah blah blah. So there's some pretty big dreams there, with all of that stuff, and we really, really, just like you guys do, really believe in what we're doing. And if the world could just see that, I mean, like there's a awesome documentary on Netflix about like mariachi ensembles, and there's stuff about cheerleading and stuff about, what I mean? Like, so like, I think that we're primed for that. We just need to invest, invest in it.
Yeah. I think one of the things I admire about you and like what you're doing is that you guys just shoot your shot. Like you just got to do it,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is, something that we've started doing. I mean,
Try
but
to.
yeah, the more you do that, I mean, it's all about opportunity. And
Mhm.
if you don't shoot your shot, then you're just never going to have that opportunity and finding the right opportunity.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, one of the internal mantra, especially for me recently, well, the past handful of years, is like, it's so easy for us to say like, oh, we'll find a time to hang out. It's like you're not going to find the time. Like you have to
Mhm.
make the time. It's the same thing with opportunities. Like, look, there can always be like I was in the right place at the right time. That happens, but like I think for most people, you have to create that opportunity. And something that Luke and I say firmly is like, look, if we don't believe in this thing, why would anybody else? So like,
Mm-hmm.
see, we have to go for it. Like we just have to, we, we have to go for it and be like so unabashedly supportive of our own dream, you know, and be willing for it to start small and be willing for it to start ugly, like every single thing that I'm a part of that's like at a pretty high level right now, like the very very first day, like, no one would even recognize that, and I think we all have those things. So yeah, I mean, that's something that I think anybody who, like, whatever you're believing in, if you're a ninth grade, tuba player and you're playing in solo ensemble, like, or you're playing a solo, like, if you don't believe in this crescendo that you're about to play 500%, the crowd is not going to, they're not going to even get 50% of that, like, so it's just about like being so convincing, performing with such a level of conviction in whatever you do, and being willing to like scrape your knees and, and say like, okay, that wasn't it. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to ask you this question. With the new law that has been passed by, Texas lawmakers about cell phone bans, do you have any advice for any band directors who are having issues with that system that use UDB and Beam?
Yeah. So a couple of different things. First of all, UDB and Beam not only work on cell phones, they also work on tablets, they work on Chromebooks, they work on Macs. So like if you're one-to-one Chromebooks, cool. Like you can use UDB or Beam on those things. Um, what our data tells us is that the vast majority of UDB usage happens before the school year, during band camp, right? And then outside of the school day. Um, Texas, which is of course a huge part of our market, Texas is like really the only the only
No,
state.
country. You can say it's a country.
It's the only state that really that generally practices marching band during the day. You know what I mean? Like that's not the norm anywhere else. So like everywhere else, like you have marching band practice before school or after school, and you do concert band during the day, right? So like for the vast majority of users, I think you would probably even look at it and say like, yeah, like we learn a good chunk of our show during band camp, and then like when you get into the school year, if you have before school or after school rehearsals, that's where you're using UDB more, right? So that's what our data shows. The second part is if I told you, hey, you're going to have even less rehearsal time, right? Then that means that you need to be even more effective with your rehearsal time. So, of course, I'm saying this wearing the UDB hat, but it's like if you have less time to try to achieve the same thing, you have to be even more effective. So you need to use the tool that's going to make you most effective. The next part of it is, like finding ways to look. I mean, we as music educators, we have to continuously troubleshoot, right? That's our daily life, right? How do I turn 3 oboes into half an oboe, right? We were talking about that earlier, right? So um so if here's the hand that I'm dealt, I can't use cell phones during the school day. Okay, like I was using it, bummer, I can't now. So how do I restructure my rehearsal? Do we do more before or after school just for the first couple weeks of the season, so that we can get those things done outside? And then I just put more onus on the kids and say, hey, we can't use this tool during the school day. So I need you guys to practice more at night. I need you to be prepared. And then we are going to go outside tomorrow. And I just need you to write down your stuff from UDB, on like a little note card or whatever, or get an ultimate dot book. Who knows? I don't know. Right. So look, I'm an optimist, just in general, but like to me, I don't see this as like a long-term setback. I think this is just a temporary, like, okay, well, how are we going to do this? Um, so from a beam standpoint, you know, the cool thing is that if you're, working on beam during the school day and you've got a Chromebook or you have a tablet or you've got a M series Mac, right? Like anything that you do on that will save and come down to your phone. So if you're using your phone in the stands, cool. Like all of those markings, those transfer, right? Um, so to me, I think it's just a reorganizing of the priorities. And here's how we just look at our schedule. Because look, I love it that people are using UDB all season long, all day, every day. But we do see statistically that the vast majority happens actually already outside the school day.
Well, and Alexa, you've done a little bit more digging into this than I have.
I don't know.
But I believe actually there's a way for you to talk to your administration to like flag it to where
no,
you can
I
use it
think that
during the
it's
school
just
day.
like they pass a law, but it's up to the school districts to implement it. And so there are exceptions, but it's dependent on your district and their policy. So if your district is saying like, okay, like as soon as a student is on school grounds, like the phone is in a pouch or whatever, like that is up to your people that enforce it at your school. So I don't have a clear answer to that, and Josh might have a better one, but
No, I mean, no, you're hearing what we're hearing,
yeah.
and I mean, it's really, truthfully, it's really humbling, to look on, you know, whether it's forums or the Texas band directors Facebook group, like to see people who are like, hey, I'm worried about this law because I use UDB, like that. It's like, wow, like this is it's a part of people's
Mhm.
educational journey, which is like really special and meaningful to us. But the vast majority of discussions that we're seeing are people saying like, some people have said like, my administration has created, even though like it's not in the law, they have said for marching band for this period, this time you can use it. That's not something that we are saying do break the law, don't break the law, whatever. Like, so there's a number of people who are reporting that. There's a lot of people who are saying like, look, we learn like 75% of our show already outside of school hours. So I'm just going to think about how we just organize our time differently.
Mhm.
There's some schools who have said like, hey, you know what, like I've been thinking about changing our rehearsal schedule anyway, so like I'm just going to do this, like for example, um, a school here in Austin, which won't remain nameless, but like, you know, they literally just they were said, hey, we're gonna just rehearse in the mornings because it's cooler. Like the weather is cooler in the mornings, right? We have fewer issues with student like after school activities, and for the first couple of weeks of the season, that's when we're going to sort of finish learning our drill, which is when it's UDB heavy. You know, so you know. Anyway, so like there's reasons to be concerned, but to me, I can't, I don't know if I can believe that this is going to be like a permanent forever like thing, and look, maybe it will be, but like I'm imagining like, okay, so here's this new law, and I'll talk about another app that everybody's got on their phone, tonal energy, right? Like
Mhm.
here's a thing that now allows for every kid in the world, to like have a high quality tuner and metronome on their phone. And now we're like literally taking those away from them for stuff that only happens during school hours or mostly, it's like, so where's that budget coming from to put a $30 tuner in every kid's hands and a metronome? So look, I totally get it. And we are
Mhm.
supportive of less distracting environments. That's why we have a feature called focus mode, where you can turn on focus mode and it forces the kids to be in airplane mode to access their drill. And that used to actually only be a pro feature, and we made it a feature available to everybody in case that helped make the case for a school, to have access to this. So again, I'm an optimist in general, but I'm also an optimist about this, and I think that this will work itself out to some degree. You know, I think that just technology is too baked into our lives to rip it away. The social media thing, totally there, right?
Mhm.
But for kids who are relying on this for blood glucose monitoring, and then just like any other thing, there's going to be, oh well, here's this other exception, here's this other exception, and it's just sort of like it's a little bit of like a rip the band-aid off thing. It's a little too full of a thing without a follow-up. Like if the state of Texas said, hey, we're implementing this, but we're giving each school $2 million to replace that with school-owned technology, cool. I mean, they're not doing that, right?
we
you
can
know
we can dream.
right, but like, so anyways, i'm I'm hoping that this is an important enough part of people's lives that they figure it out, and that's what we're generally seeing,
Yeah.
so far.
Yeah, and the reason I asked for that is because I like just like you. I mean, you keep your eye on the forums, and that has been a hot topic because like the service that your company has provided us has really, I mean, it has changed the game, and it has changed the learning experience and the enjoyment of the learning experience and the refinement and the excellence of it. And now that we have a taste of what that excellence is, we don't want to let it go.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
not only that, but I mean, like, it's interesting. I mean, like this thing, of course, like the governor of Texas is not doesn't care what's going on with TMEA, but like this thing happens at the same time as TMEA now decides, I love this, that you can now audition with an electronic device that's never been available. So like we're doing this not only in the music space, but like, so it's just, I mean, just like anything else, man, it's just going to take some time. It'll play itself out. And we will continue to support distraction free and learning environments just like we always have, right? And what we have seen, from millions of use cases from people using the app, is people say like my rehearsals are actually better because the kids have more information.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so look, and if we really want to get into the merits of how all of these things can be helpful, I do think there's an argument to be made. And so I'm hoping that other people will step up. I'm hoping that, the lobbyists that are connected to TMEA, to UIL, I'm hoping that they can, you know, help modernize some of the thinking when it relates to certain technologies that are critical to the success of our, modern day student musicians.
Yeah. Well, it's like the same thing with like football equipment. If our football boys were playing with the same helmets that they had developed in the 1920s, everyone would be having concussions all the time.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a tough lift.
Yeah.
So,
The activity evolves and like the technology and things that surround it also evolve. And so,
evolution,
yeah.
weird.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
still sad that we haven't evolved to the point where we have flying cars like in Back to the Future
I don't know.
2.
How is
2015
no,
passed.
with how some of these
No
people
flying.
drive on the road. I don't
Yep.
necessarily want to be airborne. Like, yeah.
If air traffic controllers had a hard time then or
Girl,
now, and
don't
then,
get me started on that. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So thank you for answering that question, because I know that has been like kind of a hot
It's a hot topic right now.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I don't pretend to have any answers. Like I'm sharing what is anecdotal evidence, and I will say that, I mean, we're in touch regularly with lots of administrators, right? Not just in Texas, but throughout the country. Um, and to be completely honest, I'm actually pretty encouraged with how they're talking to us about it. Like, um, I mean, laws are meant to be like strict. Laws are meant to be controlling, right? Um, but they seem to collectively have like some belief that, like, look, I think that this can work this way. And even if it's like, look, marching band, you already rehearse a billion hours outside of the school day, so just use that tech more outside of the school day. Period. Like, simple. Um, so we'll see how it shakes out, man. But it's something that we're talking about internally every day.
Do you have a mentor or several mentors that you'd like to give some credit?
I was thinking about this earlier today. When you had sent me sort of a sort of a preliminary list of questions and some ideas. Um, and I literally sat down and sort of just got quiet for a couple minutes trying to think about that. There's lots of people who I can attribute lessons personally and professionally to. I'm not sure if there's a single person who is like, man, like, time and time again, this one person has like saved me, or guided me. Because there's so many people. I mean, certainly my family is a huge, like, we have a way of helping course correct each other. So my family, my parents, for sure. Um, the the guy who was my tuba teacher in undergraduate, his name is Ross Walter, Dr. Ross Walter. Um, and I remember him like pursuing me as a potential student there for years and years and years and years. And I never like blew him off, but like I never took really what he was offering me seriously until I became older and I eventually went to go study with him. And in the moment, I started to realize like how invaluable he was to me. And a couple of years ago, it really dawned on me like how important he was to me. And I had a chance I flew back to Richmond just for this trip, actually, to take him out to lunch. And I had a chance to say thank you, and just for him, like, he had every right to like want to like push me hard and like want me to like, your job is just to be a professional tuba player. And like, but that was never the thing. Like, he just always wanted me to like be excellent at whatever I was doing. And that really sunk in a couple years ago for me. And I got to go back and buy him lunch and say thank you. And he said, like, I'll never forget, like, we're sitting on this park bench sharing this bagel, which was actually a pretty good bagel. And he said, I'm such a believer in the human's ability to adapt and learn. And and he's like, his whole thing was like, I just saw that in you. Like, you were just constantly learning and constantly adapting. And that was the most important thing for you. So he was really, really instrumental to me. Terry Austin, who was my undergraduate conducting teacher. was hugely influential. He got me involved in some serious stuff in the profession before I was ready. Um, he allowed me to sit in on composition contests and see the newest concert band literature before it ever came out, and so he was really influential. And then my graduate conducting teacher, Dr. David Waybright, hugely influential. Um, and then my best friend of many years, who I taught high school with, Dwayne Costin, who's now the director of bands at VCU. So it's like all of these people that, I know this is not the question, but like for me, it's been like the system of people and the collection of people. And, no matter what part of the world or activity I'm in, like to have somebody that like is always there, like that has just been like, that's sort of been my mentor, is like, I've always got someone, and I'm surrounded by quality people. So I know that's not
No,
the
that's
question,
fantastic.
but
Like, well, and that's one of the things about this is like we ask these questions because like everyone's perception of what a mentor is has kind of been different.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, life gives you, and I don't know if if you are someone who is deep in faith, but you're given what you can handle, and you are given the things that you need in order to shape you in the direction you need to go. And like that is something that is great and wonderful because I mean I've had fantastic mentors and people who've shown me the job, but I definitely have certain people who have been presented to me in my life in order to point me in the direction of the person that I was capable of being.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, which is like what we're supposed to be doing as band directors, right?
Yeah.
Pushing kids to in the direction for the people that they, are capable of being.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I've been really fortunate to be around a lot of those people.
I think when people think, and this is just me, so I don't mean to project onto everyone, but when you think of like a mentor and we ask people like, who is your mentor? I think that people try to envision someone that's like, they taught you that you should do concert F and then do lip slur, like showed you literally like step by step. But I do not have a singular person that I think of that did that, but it's all of the people that, just like you said, believed in the potential or showed you the way to get there. It's like they're not telling you like step by step, this is what you do. But it's like you said, like they believed in you and they pushed you in the right direction. And that's not always like pedagogical, I guess.
Yeah, totally. And I think there's probably 1,000 people who would answer that question and say like, this person, I'll never forget, they taught me in
Mm-hmm.
my first concert F,
Yeah.
like, so,
Yeah.
but like, and I think that's what's cool. I mean, not to get like too heady, but like that's what's cool about life is like,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully there's like a billion things that have like shaped you, and I think that if you're lucky enough to find yourself in those positions, if you're lucky enough to create those opportunities, if you're lucky enough to sort of find or create those opportunities everywhere that you turn, like in every part of my life, like I have those 5 or 10 people that I could call at midnight and say like, I need you to come pick me up, like whether it's, you know,
You
whether
pick
it's,
up at midnight? Never. Never.
whether it's, all right, here's my drum corps people, or here's my band people, or here's my UDB people, or here's my restaurant people, here's my, whatever it is, like, there's like having, I think for me, it's just about like creating depth, wherever you can. And, it's amazing, especially when you realize that you can learn from anybody, like they don't just have to be like an old person. It's
Yeah.
like, I learned from, my team members, at UDB, almost all of them who are younger than me. Like I learn from them every day. I'm like, oh, I see how you handle that. Noted, you know? Um, so it's, yeah, I mean, I think that if you're fortunate enough to be afforded that mindset and can look at things that way, I think you'd probably, at least for me, you would be like, man, I got like a billion mentors, out there.
Do you have a mistake that you've made that's made you a better educator or just, a better person?
Dude, we do not have enough time to talk about all those, man. Um, yeah, I mean, there's so many of them. Um, and I don't know. I'm not even sure the first time that I realized this, but like I remember I often think about like the power of saying I'm sorry and the power of saying like, yeah, I messed that up. That's on me. Because it's something that like, I mean, no one wants to be have to say that, but like especially as a young teacher, like and that's like the last thing that's in your vocab, like you're gonna like die on this hill of like, no, this is the decision I made. And you're like, and it's wrong. So like, um, so I'm not sure if there's single mistake, like a particular one that stands out to me where it's like, man, that was really formative. Um, but I think learning how to approach mistakes has been really formative for me. I know that's not what you
Yeah,
asked,
you
but like,
once again, fantastic answer. Fantastic. Um, so what's some advice you would give to like a young band director?
well, I mean, as you know, like the job requires so much of you. Like your job, like I know that your title is band director, but you're also like a custodian. You're also a chaperone. You're also a janitor. You're also a bookkeeper. You're also a CEO. Like all of these things. And this is not exactly what you're asking, but it's very tied in. Um, I have always believed, and I say this all the time, especially to people who are about to enter the profession. Um, I talk about the importance of like whatever the job duties are, like that's the minimum requirements. People often look at like, all right, cool, like to do this job, I have to be able to do all these things. And like they sort of look at that as the ceiling versus, hey, look at that as the floor, you know? Especially when you're like getting a degree. Like I'm a believer in school, right? Cool. Um, but like congratulations, you're gonna graduate with 400,000 other people this year who all have the same degree. What makes you different? Every single one of your degrees is Bachelor of Music and Music Education. Sweet. But what makes you different? All right, cool. Now it's time to get a graduate degree in conducting or oboe performance or whatever. Cool. There's 200,000 people all graduating with the same degree this year. What makes you different? Like the degree is the minimum. The job description is the minimum. So like that's something I talk about all the time. I'm a huge believer in that. And for me, I think some of the bigger reasons why, I was presented with the opportunities that I was both at the high school and collegiate and drum corps level is not because of the degrees that I had. It's because of all of the other stuff that I knew how to do. I knew how to build a really beautiful website. I knew how to market myself. I knew how to like make my recording, that had my conducting excerpts on there look and sound like $1,000,000. Like I knew how to write drill at a high level. I knew how to blah blah blah. Like those are all things that are not part of the degree. You know, but like those are all things that are just to me the degree, the job description. That's the minimum. And so, whenever I get a chance to talk to young band directors, because they're chasing that degree or they're
Mhm.
chasing whatever the thing is, and it's like instead of looking at that as like the ceiling or the goal, let that be like, all right, cool, that's the minimum. This is excellence is our minimum. You know, and then how can we be unique beyond that?
Mm.
It's that in kind of inverting your thought process. Um, oh, I heard somebody say this, and this is like I never had thought about this when it comes to like teaching music. Like when you teach music, you teach notes and you teach silence, right? Well, what's the first thing you're going to gravitate towards? Teaching the notes. And I had somebody goes, "Oh, the what are the always the biggest problems with students whenever they play? What's the hardest part? Is it the beginning, the middle, or the end of the note? Which one do kids mess up the most often?" generally it's the end of the note because they don't
They
know
don't know
when.
when to stop.
Yes. And they said, well, invert the idea of playing. How do you start silence and how do you end silence? And like, I thought that and I was like, I've never thought about it that way. And it like literally blew my mind. I was like,
Yeah.
that is something that is so simple
Mhm.
that I just like, I didn't take the second to step back and think about it in a different way.
Yeah. And that's, again, I'm really fortunate to have had the experiences, many of which I created, for myself, but like, so much of my like formal training, quote unquote, all didn't look anything like it was meant to look. Like, cool, here's the class. And I was like, I always looked at like, all right, that's cool. What can I do that's unique? Like I know that you've asked for this project. Cool, I'll do that project. I can do that like this weekend. What can I do above and beyond that? You know, and it was never like I want to go above and beyond just to like be the standout. It's just like, here's the one chance that I have to like learn from this experience. How can I max this out? And like let me scrape my knees now before I have to like pay my own rent, or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
So to me, I think that that's such a um I think that's just such a healthy mindset to have. And if you can start to apply that to different areas in your life, I think that all of a sudden you might start just looking at things differently and looking at your own growth differently and looking at opportunities with other people differently, you know.
Oh yeah.
So we talked about this before we started the pod, but you have a young child, and how has becoming a dad kind of changed your approach and view of like the job?
I think the best way that I know how to answer that, especially because you know, I've been I've been working really hard for a long time, at a lot of different things. And before I had a family, you know, I've had a partner for a long time, right? But like before I had like a baby, somebody who like couldn't feed themselves, I never understood when colleagues were like, my kid's sick, like I can't do this right now. There was always a part of me that was like, come on, man, like, like you could figure this out. And I was never insensitive about it, but like I just didn't understand it, you know? And now, I've got this incredible 21-month-old little baby girl, Leah, who like has totally like introduced a new part of life to me, you know? Um, so like it's of course I now get it when it's like she's not feeling well. Like I'm okay, I'm dropping whatever it is, like, and I'm going, you know. Not just because she needs that, but like because I have an opportunity to help, you know. Of course she needs that in the moment, but like I can be I can save her, I can help, whatever the thing is, right? So it has helped me mature in that way because I was really immature about that before. Again, I was never vindictive, I was never insensitive. I just didn't get it, you
Mhm.
know. So that has changed for me in that way. And look, I mean, she's still like a 21-month-old person, but like for 6 months she was a potato, right? And now you know, and now she's like a person, you know, and and I'm seeing this person grow up. I'm seeing her like she's in this incredible like French immersion preschool, and like she comes home and like she starting to speak more French than she is English. And I'm like, I'm learning from her. I'm like, what? No, say that again. And I'm like looking it up on like my phone, like, and so I think it's sort of given me this perspective of like, here's this person who like, when they look at you, like they trust you 100%, and they trust everything about you because they don't have any reason not to. And like, here's this opportunity to like keep that trust and keep that love. How can I do that with my team members? How can I do that with my students? How can I do that with my colleagues? How can I be as honest with them as I am with my daughter? How can I encourage them to expect that of me in the same way that, like, I don't want to lie to my daughter, like those kinds of things. So like, it's just sort of giving me like a new, I think almost like this new strata of like, here's just another way to like treat a human like really well, you know? Um, and those are the things that I think that I'm feeling more each day, both as a father, but then as like a co-founder of a company. I look at my team and like they literally like they show up in our studio every day with a smile. It might be because we have like the fridge stocked with hot pockets, and pink
Yep.
drinks from Starbucks.
Yeah, and a barbecue place across the
Yeah,
street.
yeah. I mean, like we try to do everything we can, but like they rely on us. Like they've chosen to make a life in Austin, working with and for our company. Like they need their paychecks to cash. They need their health insurance to go through. Like all of these things. And so like it's amazing. Like we have we have we have 28 incredible people who work for you to be full time, which is wild, right? I mean, for years it was me and Luke sitting in our boxers in the living room, like so like, so like so you know, but now there's these people who like they rely on us, and it's amazing. We have more people than we've ever had, and Luke and I are busier than we've ever been, because we're not only like running the product part of our company, but we're also like we're busting our ass to like help our team feel loved and supported, and we're not always perfect. We've slipped up plenty of times. And the best thing we can do is just say, like, we tried it, it didn't work. I'm so sorry. We'll be better next time, you know?
Well, and so are you? My daughter has me wrapped around her little finger.
For sure. Oh yeah. Yeah. That's
Uh,
that. Yeah. 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 She's
oh,
already,
but
my girl's already got my credit card. She knows the last four of my social. Yeah.
well, and once again, I can tell like the atmosphere that happens in y'all's office because we also decided to go to the Rice Summit, which was great. Like I met people and I talked to people and I saw things from a different perspective that I had never seen, and it was in your facility, and you were very open and you let them. I mean, it was literally their space, in those moments, and I felt really good because I was able to share some of our story
Mhm.
with people and hopefully give some perspective on how things are in like the small school.
Yeah.
you know
Yeah. I mean, the thing that like, now that we have this space, which we love and we cherish, and we're actually expanding, to another 6 or 7,000 square feet behind there, right? Like one of the longtime dreams of mine and Luke's is like, how cool would it be for like our community to have a space that's not like a hotel ballroom, you know? Like here's a spot that's like tailor made. It's built by the arts. I mean, everything that anything that exists on UDB side of her, like has literally been built by a marching band app. So like we haven't even like started to realize the potential with Beam and stridetv and this other thing that's soon coming out. So like we love it when people walk in and like, man, this is beautiful and it would be cool if, and we're like, yep. I mean, literally today we told there's a local community choir and they're like, we lost our rehearsal space. It's like, here, you guys just tell us when you need it. It's your spot, like, so like for us, like that's like a huge, that's like a true like dream, come true for us, is to like have a spot that we can just give somebody the keys and say, yeah, but if you need it, it's yours.
That's great.
Yeah.
So with all the band things that you have been doing and all the UDB beam stuff like that, what do you do in order to step away from the plate and unwind, man?
So, um, I mean, my other happy place is like hosting people, cook. I mean, it still like involves people. Like I'm not a good like sit alone person, Um, so I love cooking. I love hosting people. I love food and drink. Like it's one of the easiest ways to connect with somebody. Like whether you're sitting down having a meal, having a cigar, having a drink, like you're there's a guy who I listen to. just a podcaster, but he talks about like the best thing about a great meal or the best thing about a great drink, bottle of wine, cigar, whatever it is it's a commitment to time, and I love that if you can create those opportunities for other people, then like that's just like for me, it's everything. So like to unwind, I'm like I love planning like a giant meal and like having a bunch of people over and those kinds of things. So I enjoy that a lot. Um, one of my lifelong dreams is to open up a restaurant. So I'm constantly thinking about that. But yeah, I mean that's I guess that's how I unplug or what I don't even know I don't even know what the word would be.
I mean, yeah, social. I mean, you're a social butterfly. That's what it means. And I mean, I think you just love community. I think that's
Mhm.
kind of the big thing. I
Yeah, yeah.
mean, I mean, I love being around the people, lots of people, but at the same time, because I'm a band director, I'm around 100 some odd kids every single day.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I totally get that. I mean, I certainly a caveat in what I said is like I can be around so long as I'm around like a different kind of people. You know
Mm.
what I mean?
Mhm.
So like if all right, cool. Like I've done this thing and it was a long day. I love you guys, but I'll see you tomorrow. Right. And I can then shift gears and then go into like hosting mode if it's just a completely different thing. So yeah, man. So like hosting people, cooking, eating, drinking, and like sharing with other people, like that's my happy place.
Do you have anything that you wish you could bring back? Anything in the world? Nostalgia, anything? Childhood?
So I'm a huge believer in like everything happens for a reason, right? So it's hard for me to like wish that something were different, if that makes sense. I mean, like I've taught myself how to believe and like, look, it sucks that this is gone, but it happened for a reason. Uh, but if I could change something, I wish the cadets were still here.
Mm. Yeah.
I'm thrilled and honored that like, so much of the stuff that's in UDB, like 90% of it is all stuff that like the cadets taught me and Luke, right? And cadets for years, right? So I love that like the legacy is living on through lots of different ways, right? But like that's one way that the legacy is living on. Like a third of the staff at Bluecoats, like we're all cadets. So like we're doing our thing and just lots of other things. But if the organization were still around, um, I think it would continue to be special. And I really wish that not just competitively, but I wish that the people who saw the cadets over the past now 10 years got a chance to see what it was like when it was at its peak. You um, and that's not to take away anything from what it was before it had to disband, but um, that would be I think the thing that I would bring back if I could.
Yeah.
Well, that organization just has such a formative and special place in your heart, which is totally like understandable.
Well, a huge part of your life.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, God.
and a huge part of the world that we live in, like the
Mhm.
band world. I mean, there's so many things. I'm very plugged into the drum corps activity, not just through like Blue Coats, but every drum corps uses our technology, which is cool,
Right.
right?
What? I was unaware. Unaware.
But
Is
like,
that the shirts that they've been wearing?
Yes.
Oh.
They say
yeah.
UDB on them. Yeah.
Oh.
Um, but like when I watch all of these drum corps shows, I'm like, cool, like like that's a nod to the cadets, or like the cadets made this popular. Look, not the cadets are the only thing, right? But like it was such a integral part of the teaching in our activity and the design in our activity and the mindset in our activity, that I wish that there was just still like a collection of that was attached to that name and to that legacy. Um, but we'll see what the future holds.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you there are 3 shows DCI shows I lean on as like my favorite shows.
Mm-hmm.
One of them being, the Cavaliers, the Machine.
Yes.
Love that show. Phantom Regiment, Spartacus,
Yeah.
and the Cadets, Angels and Demons. Like those three shows are probably my favorite shows of all time.
Yeah. I would add another one. I would say Tilt.
Oh, Tilt
I
is
love
good.
Tilt.
Tilt is very good. Well, this past year with Bluecoats,
Oh yeah,
those
I
intro hits,
love that.
oh,
I love that.
those were so tasty.
Yeah, Tilt was my second year of Bluecoats, and I remember like seeing that thing come to life. I was like, I think we're onto something.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, I mean the design team like really stretched their creative legs and did some stuff that was really formative for the activity. Um, it's cool, like it's I always love, just like you guys, like finding out what other people's favorite shows are, and they're they're all our favorite for different reasons, but
Mm-hmm.
it's cool how like oftentimes one of like some of our favorite shows are also the show that we would use to explain the activity to somebody who knows nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could, like anybody off the street could watch Cavaliers '06 Machine and they'd be like, all right, that's cool. Like I didn't know band did that, or Spartacus or Angels and Demons or whatever, you know what I mean? So it's fun when those two things align, you know?
Yeah. I love showing kids that have never seen drum corps before, like you were saying. I love showing like young band kids Spartacus because they love the music part of it already. That's introduced into their life. But to watch like just like the emotion of it all and how it ends and everything, that is like so fun to watch them see for the first time. And then they want to talk about it. And that's what's so fun is because you can be like, oh, you loved that? You should go watch this. And then they come back and they like talk to you about it. And it's just such like a medium to connect with students and introduce them to the things that we love, and it's just so fun.
Yeah, I was I was literally thinking about this today for, sort of for a different reason, but like, look, I mean, I'm still very much a professional band kid. Like that's my
Mhm.
title, same thing with Luke. But like,
So when you send out your emails, I expect to see professional band kid
yeah,
somewhere in there.
yeah, I gotta change my business card. Um, but like, I was remembering, um, what it was like to be like peak high school nerdy band kid.
Mhm.
Like, and you're like, on your playlist, like for me, like on my iPod at the time or my CD player, like was like 90%, like band slash drum corps music, and then like a little bit of like hip hop and Red
Mhm.
Hot Chili Peppers or whatever, like, um, but like just like you just lived band music, and like you were fanatical about these composers or this particular piece. And I was actually thinking today, um, about the piece that like was like sort of the first piece I ever like fell in love with. It was because it was so simple, but like it was really, really beautiful. But um, and I just remember like just when you're like peak band kid, man, like you show up and you're like, that's all you're doing. And I look and see like what, these kids are doing now, like, on TikTok or Instagram, and I see myself in them, of course, they just have way more bells and whistles than, I had when I was a band kid. But like I love I mean, we probably get, 100 times a year, we get people sending us screenshots of like kids posting on TikTok, like, I've got the smallest step size in UDB ever, or like there's like full Reddit forums about like what's your favorite drill set? And it's just pictures of kids like taking screenshots in UDB, like, so like I love just sort of like sitting back and just watching that, because I remember what it was like, and I remember just watching nonstop, drum corps at the time or whatever it was, like the number of times I've listened to Cadets 2000 or Cavaliers 2000 or, fill in the blanks, for years. But it's special, you know.
Do you have a bucket list piece of music or an award or something, a moment that you hope to have sometime in your career?
So totally irrationally, like I'd like to have a Grammy. Um, I don't know why I would get a Grammy, but a huge part of me for many, many, many years was like, I was really taking composition and arranging seriously. And there's a part of me that feels like that part of my life will come back around. Um, I love like film scores. I love composing for motion and for picture and stuff like that. Um, so there's a part of me that feels like, yeah, I could be a part of a Grammy project one day. I have no idea how or what, but like that's like the thing that's like I want that on my bio, you know.
Grammy winner.
Do you have a favorite movie score?
Man, the score from Shawshank Redemption is like really, man, it's hard to beat that. I also love the score from um, Catch Me If You Can,
That's a good
which
one.
um, that's special to me for a lot of different reasons. But like, man, that's like legit music. Look, I mean, lots of movie scores are, but that's music that stands on its own. You
Mhm.
know, and to know that it's like the same dude who wrote E.T. and Jaws and Harry Potter, like all this other stuff, like you listen to that, it's like, man, this is like a killing jazz album. So those stand out to me for sure. Um, there's a billion things, of course, that I'm not thinking about. Historically, with film and TV, I'm like 20 to 30 years behind. So like I'll eventually watch Frozen, or something else that like everybody else has watched for 20 years. Not that Frozen would be on that list, but maybe it would be. Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, it's good music.
Yeah.
Well, so one of my favorite scores is the score from Braveheart.
Yeah, yeah.
Braveheart's a good one, and then How to Train Your Dragon,
Mm.
Yeah, How to Train Your Dragon has really good
like
music.
really good music.
I don't know about the new one. I don't know
I
what
think
direction they went with that.
I think they use a lot of the same
It's
stuff.
pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, anytime that I hear music from The Incredibles, I'm always
Yes.
I'm like, like killing, like those are some compositional chops, but also like, man, those players,
Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't Wayne Bergeron on that
Yeah.
track?
yeah,
And
yeah,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
I use a lot of because they have a lot of studio videos of that, and I like to show those to kids because
yeah,
it's real fun,
for
and they
sure.
enjoy that. Yeah.
Yeah. So if it wasn't banned, what would have it been?
Sort of a difficult answer because if I go back to where I was, like the school that I was at and what it offered, like I had a pretty good educational experience, but there wasn't like a ton of other stuff. Like they didn't have like a killing like creative arts program or like entrepreneurship program or like digital media. I mean, like we had classes, but there weren't programs. Um, so um, if band wasn't available to me, not just in school but in life, I would have probably gone down the entrepreneurship path even earlier, um, and probably even done the restaurant thing earlier.
Hmm.
Have you watched The Bear?
I started it. I need to pick it back up. I know it's good. It's a show about food. I mean, like I'm like 80% of me is food. You know what I mean? So like, um, so I need to like, I need to, I need to watch it. One of the challenges for me is like, I only really watch stuff when I'm traveling. Now I travel a lot, right? But like, it has to be like, all right, this is a 3-hour flight, which means I can watch 3 1-hour episodes of something, cause like I don't really watch stuff at home. Like if like I have the TV on just cause I like that energy. I like knowing something's live. And during like football season, there's football on every day, every night, right? But
Didn't you watch Burnt? Isn't that another one?
That's a
A movie
movie. I think.
with Bradley Cooper.
Yeah, I remember watching that movie, but it wasn't like a standout to me. I like The Bear a lot. I have not seen good reviews of the fourth season that just came out.
Oh, the fourth season came out. Oh,
But the first, especially 2 seasons, are really
yeah, they were
good.
really good.
yeah, I mean, it's a show that, like I said, I mean, what I have seen, I've liked. I need to follow up on it more. It's hard for me to watch shows that are not like realistic. Of
Yeah.
course, that
Or
is
Bluey.
realistic. Yeah, I mean, like that's realistic, which is cool. Like I gravitate towards like if I'm gonna watch something, like I really enjoy documentaries. I also like like shows like like Entourage. Do you know that show?
Oh
Mhm.
yeah.
Like that's dope. Yeah, like I like Entourage a lot. I really got into Suits. Um, so stuff like that. Uh,
Who's your favorite character in Entourage?
I mean, Ari Gold, is like he's just like he's just always off the hinge. I mean, like so, he's cool. And the guy who plays Vince, I really liked him. He actually lives here in Austin. He has like think he's like maybe just like a hippie who lives in like he has like a farm out here. Um, but yeah, I really liked Ari Gold in Entourage.
I never watched Entourage.
It was good. I
Uh,
like Turtle.
I don't know why. I just
Yeah, I like Turtle too, man. Turtle, yeah.
His whole entire thing with when Ronda Rousey was like popular.
I haven't thought about Ronda Rousey in a second.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, there was a whole interaction in that show. That was pretty funny.
Wow.
Yeah, I just rewatched Entourage actually, because it's an easy watch. Like it's funny. It's like high energy. I liked Suits a lot because like I felt like I was learning stuff,
Mhm.
and it wasn't too schmaltzy. It wasn't like a soap opera. To me, um, I love The West Wing.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's as good to me. That's as good as it gets.
Me too.
Like there's not better writing. There's not better acting. Um, I love The Office, of course. Like and like all of these things, like I watched 10, 15 years like after they came out.
Yeah.
So like, um, but yeah, that like those are the things. Those are the shows that I can identify. That I
I
like.
don't think that I watched The West Wing until like maybe 5 years ago.
I
or
still
so.
haven't watched all of The West Wing.
You should. It's really good.
I
I don't know
know,
how
I
far
know.
you've watched into it, but
I
it's
don't know.
very
I
good.
need to give it a shot while I have the rest of this week.
I'll watch it with you. Like, let's turn it on and
Aside from like I think the incredible writing and acting, like honestly, it's the thing that's taught me the most about government and like world
Mhm.
policy.
Yeah.
Like I didn't learn that stuff in high school. And I certainly can't watch the news to learn that stuff now. So
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
same.
oddly enough, like when you watch especially like the first episode, it's really outdated because he's like carrying one of the plots of the first episode is that the pagers get mixed up. You've seen that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But aside from like that aspect of it, it is still like incredibly relevant today. Like
yeah,
everything they talk about on the show is like this 25 years ago and it's like still incredibly relevant. It's crazy to like watch how that works.
yeah, yeah.
Did you ever watch Mad Men?
You know, I started like by started I mean like I watched like the first half of the episode and like
Yeah.
I just stopped, not for any particular reason, but like I know that like people say like, all right, man, you would love Mad Men. People say I would love oh my god, it'll come to me. I did watch Billions. Have you guys seen Billions?
We just talked about
We
that
just
last
talked
night.
about it,
I
but
didn't
no.
see it.
I liked Billions. Um
Are you thinking about Succession?
yeah, it's Succession. Yeah,
Yeah,
There you go.
I like
um
Succession.
I need to like eventually do that. It'll probably take me like 10 years and then I'll be ready to
Yeah.
watch it.
Jose hasn't watched all of Succession. He watched like a season and a half, and then he's not into it. I am. I
just
really
kidding,
like
kidding.
Succession.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you've already touched on this a little bit. So your guilty pleasure TV show, you said it was did you say American Idol?
Heck
I
yeah.
did. I did. For a couple reasons. Not that you're asking for my justification, but I'm going to justify it because I'm the guest. But like, it's interesting because like it's one of the few things that allows for me to like sort of keep up with pop culture a little bit. Um, that's not why I watch it, but like I'm able to be like, oh, okay, I get it. But I do like seeing, younger people come on and like sing quality literature. Like I love seeing somebody come on and be like, yeah, I'm going to sing this song by Aretha Franklin. I'm like, cool, you know who Aretha Franklin is, like, so I like seeing that. But it's also interesting to see the three judges or the clinicians that they bring in, but like mostly the three judges, not when they're doing like sort of the stock, like I'm going to be a judge thing, but like every once in a while you see them either offer up like a piece of information. I'm like, all right, that's quality. Like that's a great nugget, right? Or every once in a while, like, like there was something this past season where like Luke Bryan, who's one of the judges, he, like one of the singers was like, "Oh man, like I'm struggling with this thing," and Luke was like, "Cool, like what key do you want to do it in?" All right, let me sing on guitar. Actually, let me sit down on piano. Like, and you get to see that like they're also legit musicians. They're not just like pretty faces or whatever it is. So like that doesn't mean I listen to Luke Bryan or Katy Perry or whatever. But like, I mean, this is also like Lionel Richie. I mean, like
Mm-hmm.
he's like the sound of the past like 40 years is governed by like this guy's voice. And so like
Mm-hmm.
so I'm able to like sort of detach myself from like the overall pizzazz of the thing, and I try to just sort of dive in on that a little bit, which is why, like I said earlier, it's tough for me to like. I don't love it when it like actually gets into the competition, because to
Mhm.
me that's just a little too like glitz and glam, you know. So I like seeing here's this kid, they show up, and here's this tune that they're just going to go out and sing in front of the world, like because like look, I get it that like flute face off, doesn't have the same, ring to it. But like what if, what if that happened? What if our space had that, like baritone besties and like tuba tug of war, like whatever it is. But like somebody has figured out a way to make singing like
Mm-hmm.
our biggest pastime this giant success, like beyond just like the actual like pop side of it, so like so there's also like sort of this wonderment part of my brain where I'm like, okay, what's our version of that,
Mm-hmm.
you know
I didn't. I just want to make Josh the biggest Katy Perry fan now.
Was Katy Perry on American Idol?
She is a judge.
Oh, I get confused. I get American Idol and The Voice confused for whatever
No,
reason.
they
I
start blending
watched
all
American
together.
Idol in the glory days.
Yeah.
Like season 3 through probably, I don't know, 8 or something, because my mom really liked to watch it. But I haven't really since like it was canceled and came back. I haven't.
Yeah. Breaking news: Josh was left shark
At the Super Bowl,
at the Super Bowl. He was left shark.
Still
he should
haven't
have
got
gotten
my
an Emmy
check
for
for
that.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, he could be, if we get him an Emmy and a Grammy. Be
Yeah.
halfway
Yeah.
to an
There you go.
EGOT. Yeah.
If I get an
So
Emmy first because I was left shark, you know I'll take it. But like the Grammy still, that's what.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, is there a must-eat location in the greater Austin area?
This is a
There's so
great
many.
question
There's
to
so
ask Josh.
Look, I'm not that our listeners can see this, but I have a curated list right now of 249 restaurants,
Oh my goodness.
right?
Whoa.
Like just in the sort of like the central Austin area, that as I travel the world and people are like, "Oh, you live in Austin?" I'm like, "I know we just met. Let me text you my list," right? You know? Um so like I don't know if I can like fairly pick one spot, because like man, like every different times of day call for different things, man. Like this afternoon, I needed like a little cold brew situation, and so I went to this beautiful little spot called Mercado Sin Nombre. We had this beautiful little cold brew horchata situation, and right before that, I had a meeting at New World Deli where they have the best pastrami sandwich you'll ever have, the pastrami Rachel on rye, perfectly toasted rye bread, overly buttered, yes please, right? Extra coleslaw, and then super thinly sliced house smoked pastrami. Come on. But we're also two blocks down from Intero, one of my favorite Italian restaurants that I've ever been to in my life. Um, we do happen to be across the street from Michelin Star Barbecue, La Barbecue, so that doesn't suck. Like we're right next door to Juan in a Million, where you can get the Don Juan taco and like fall asleep for 3 days, because you've got enough calories. I mean, so there's so many places. I mean,
Mhm.
there's excellent ramen, there's excellent sushi, so I know I'm not answering your question, brother, but man, there's a spot for everybody.
Man, you just rattled off like 5 places.
I just sent you a reel about Intero the other day. Yeah, we need to go there.
Terrace Jam. So our good friends own that. Ian Thurwachter and Crystal. It's a husband and wife duo. Absolutely incredible people. Intero's like, they call it funky Texas Italian because it's like
Mhm.
classic Italian, but made with like legit Texas flavors. So
Mhm.
you get like a wild boar risotto, or man, like they have this beautiful little appetizer you get every single time. House made focaccia, lightly grilled on their fire on their wood grill with house made ricotta, a little bit of honey, thyme, fresh cracked black pepper. Come on now, like it's so. Anyways, there's a spot for everybody, man, and Austin's full of it, and clearly I'm into food.
No, I was starting getting a little hot underneath the collar for that one. Woo!
We said focaccia.
Yeah.
Say that one more time, just a little bit slower.
Yeah. Focaccia.
Well, when we were in Austin, we went to the Roosevelt Room for libations.
Yeah.
And we went to Uchi for sushi.
We did.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, and Uchi has like probably one of our favorite. Uchi and Uchiko have like some of our favorite happy hours, because like a good bit of their menu is 50% off. It's money. Man, there's so many spots. Not too far from Roosevelt Room, which you guys got to go to, is Pesce. I don't know if you know about that.
We saw something about that, didn't we?
Yeah, I'm like that part. Just in general,
It's
I haven't been to
overwhelming.
almost anywhere in that like area.
Pesce is exceptional. Like food is really good. I think the cocktails are probably second to none around, like for a restaurant bar, but just absolutely unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, you could go to probably 240 of those 249 spots on that list, and I could be like, get this thing first, get this thing second. Like, yeah. Food and drink are the only things that help me understand like history and geography. Like everything else is just like arbitrary to me.
Yeah,
I mean, everyone can agree. I mean, good food. It's good food's good food.
If you're gonna learn something, you might as well eat while you're.
What was the place that we went to in Seattle? The deli.
Oh my gosh, we went to a deli in Seattle. That was like 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's like Tom's. Thames.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. I don't remember what it's called. I have it on a picture somewhere.
Yeah,
I'm sure I could look it up. That place was really good.
Yeah.
I really like a good deli, solid deli.
Nice sandwich. I'm a sandwich kind of guy. I like just good sandwich.
Horchata cold brew though.
Yeah.
Also sounds.
Yeah.
Don't jamming.
Yeah. There's a certain company that has one out right now, and I feel
a certain company based in Seattle.
Their horchata cold brew coffee situation is subpar.
Yeah, well, you don't have to say anything else. I mean, I do you guys know? Are you guys coffee drinkers?
Yes.
Do you guys know about Blue Bottle?
No.
All right. Now you do. All right. So Blue Bottle, Blue Bottle was started actually by a professional clarinet player in San Francisco. It might be the best coffee I've ever had.
Okay.
But really, really solid. There's only a couple of them around the world. Anyways, really, really, really beautiful coffee. Beautiful espresso. But worth checking out.
That's
okay.
awesome.
We'll put that on the
I
list.
used to do like pour overs all the time, and like we'd buy beans from wherever. And now it's just like I wake up in the morning and drink my HEB coffee to survive. And I would love to I need to get some more beans.
Oh, this is a good story. Okay. All right. You ready for the story? This is a story of Christmas.
I know exactly what you're
Yes, I know. So Alexa was
this is not out of character.
Yeah, it was starting to go down her coffee journey. And so we had everything almost except a pour over.
Like a Chemex.
Yeah, like a Chemex. So I went ahead and for Christmas buy her this like Chemex, and it's a nice Chemex, and I brought her all the accessories, the whole entire kit and caboodle. And it's the day after Christmas.
And I broke it.
Like it wasn't even just
like first use, I think.
like
maybe
she
second
had
use.
it on the
Send it
counter.
back. Send it back.
she had it on the counter, and she brought down a coffee mug
from the
cabinet and caught the corner of the Chemex and shattered it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's par for the course.
I wouldn't say that's the first time that's happened.
Yeah.
Well,
for the Chemex, yes.
Yeah.
Well,
For
next
everything,
time you guys are in Austin, you got to go by Texas Coffee Traders,
Okay.
which is probably my favorite roastery here in Austin. But they're the place that provides most of the restaurants with their like custom blends and roasts around Austin.
We should go. I would love to get back on the pour over grind.
Yeah.
I have all the stuff. I have like an AeroPress. I have a Chemex. I have kettle. I have skate. Like I have all the stuff. And I just like.
Well, then we had children.
I know. And now I just.
I got a Chemex and I got kids. So yeah.
They unfortunately aren't on to pour overs yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Gosh, I have some quick fire questions that are never quite quick fire enough.
Mhm.
Okay. So, all right. Answer them as best as you can. Okay. What's your favorite rom-com?
Oh, what's it called? Jesus Christ.
It's the hardest question you've asked so far on the podcast.
It's not my favorite, but it's what comes to mind. You've Got Mail.
That's
Good
a solid
answer.
choice, though. Is pineapple acceptable on a pizza?
Hell yeah.
Is a taco a sandwich?
No, a taco's a taco.
Toilet paper over or under?
Over for sure. Like if you put toilet paper under, like you're like living in the what part of that makes sense?
Okay. Which Twix do you prefer, the left or the right?
Never thought about it.
Do you have a favorite soda?
I'm not a big soda drinker, but if I need soda for caffeine, like a Mountain Dew does it for me.
Oh, okay.
I appreciate like a good root beer. And I appreciate a good cream soda.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're right there with you. For our anniversary, Alexa bought me
for Father's
Day.
We haven't had our anniversary.
Sorry. Well, we celebrated already.
Yeah.
For Father's Day, she bought me a sampling of root beers from around like the US.
That's cool. I'm
It's
here
like
for
a 12-pack of like variety.
Yeah,
basically.
That's cool.
It's been good.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Is a black belt and brown shoes acceptable?
Yeah. Yeah. If you own it, man, you own it. Like just put it on and smile. Let's go.
All right. If you had to pick one composer, Sousa, King, or Fillmore,
To do what with?
to play?
I'm gonna say Sousa.
Favorite stand tune?
Other than Neck.
You can say Neck. That's totally fine. Neck
Um,
is solid though. It really is.
I mean, look, there's nothing else that has that kind of
Energy. Yeah.
well, just sort of like, but like there's also like, 30 versions of it, and everybody thinks that their version is the version, and then
Yeah.
and you hear Southern playing, you're like, okay, so y'all sit down, and then you hear Jackson State playing, and you're like, all right, man, y'all go sit down, so. Neck is up there for sure. I was really fortunate to write a tune that has like lived on well past my legacy at UT called Orange and White. That's like it's sort of become an anthem now, and it has a little bit of flair of that. So yeah.
Worst stand tune?
Man, I hate Sweet Caroline.
Okay. Yeah, I can. Okay. The Horse has gotten a lot of hate on this podcast.
A lot of people say The Horse.
I mean, look, if we want to debate merits of stands tunes, I'm happy to do that. Like I'm like invite me back on that podcast because like
Okay.
yeah, I would love to be a part of that. Horse has a place, like it's not that you shouldn't play the Horse with 100,000 people and like the game on the line.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite store?
Like in the world? Just
Yeah,
like any store?
Any store. The world is your oyster.
Oyster.
Store. Probably one of the best experiences I've ever had in a store was in this really beautiful wine shop in Montalcino, Italy. I'll always remember it. The people, the person, what I bought. So for this pop quiz, I'll answer that way.
Ooh, that's a good.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a walk-up song? If you had a walk-up song, what would it be?
Other than Neck? No.
I was hoping you would say Neck. Yeah.
So like my get my head right song
Yeah.
for like that's like classic is Kiss Kiss by Chris Brown. I put that thing on, I'm like, all right, get out of my way. Like, like, but yeah, so
That's
I'd probably
some
pick that.
that's some like 2007,
Hey,
So I
like
was a
on
DJ
the
for
iPod.
I was a DJ for a long time. And we didn't talk about that on this podcast. I'll be on the next one. But
oh, I got to see
I've got
photos.
yeah. And I tell you what, I will buy you a bottle of anything you could dream of if you can find my DJ name.
Ooh, okay.
Sir,
There's not enough time on
you
this.
better be prepared. If you had a code spy name, what would it be?
I've never thought about that, but because my buddy Justin calls me Ban Capone, I'm going to roll with that.
Do you have a favorite music genre?
I would say like large ensemble instrumental funk, sort of like Snarky Puppy, whatever you would call that. Like that's probably what I would listen to the most. I'm a huge hip hop fan, um, like huge hip hop fan. So like, but that's a little limiting in some ways. So
If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
I wish I could. I would want to be able to grant people's wishes. I'd like want to be a genie.
What's the emoji you use the most often?
I don't really use emojis, to be honest. I'm gonna I'm gonna stick with that answer.
If you could invent a holiday, what would it be and what would you celebrate?
I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm gonna say that like everybody gets to create once a year a national me day where it's like, you know what? I'm taking today off or I'm doing this and you can't say anything about it. Like everybody deserves to like give yourself that, Today I'm just going to get 9 massages. Today I'm going to eat at 9 different 3-star Michelin star places, like whatever it is, but I think should just be a day where like you get to call the shots.
What's your favorite ice cream?
If I have to pick something that's available in a single tub, Ben and Jerry's half baked is like pretty exceptional.
Solid.
I love Ben and Jerry's.
Okay. If you could have any one animal, real or fictional, as a pet, which one would it be?
So like, would I want a dinosaur as a pet? Like, would I want a whale as a pet? Like, I just don't know if I'm prepared for that commitment.
It's just like parrots. Parrots outlive their owners. Same thing with like tortoises.
Yeah.
It's like
That's sad.
Yeah, that tortoise is going to be 250 years old. Wasn't that one tortoise like responsible for like the repopulation of its like species?
Yeah, they linked like I don't know what the number was. A lot of turtles to that one old turtle, and they like sent him off into retirement. And like
one baby daddy turtle.
yeah.
Yep, that's what it was. All right, I got one last question for you. Okay. Was there a Dairy Queen where you grew up?
There was nothing where I grew up, but like not far from me, there was a Dairy Queen.
Okay, that is a staple of like the small town like community. Is a Dairy Queen.
Well, in Texas,
Yeah,
especially.
well, I mean, yeah. Okay, what was your Dairy Queen order?
I mean, look, so I love a classic dipped cone. However, somehow over the years, people have figured out how to mess that up more than they get it right.
Mhm.
So, but like my go-to at most, if I Dairy Queen it up, I love a strawberry banana milkshake,
Ooh.
and you can't mess it up too bad. But like that's sort of like if I'm feeling like, man, if I want like a cool treat right now, a little strawberry banana milkshake. If I trust you, maybe put like a little drizzle of chocolate in there or, hot fudge. But yeah.
Do you have a favorite dessert place in Austin? Like you're dying to get something sweet?
So look, I mean, Amy's ice creams is excellent. Amy's is really solid. There are 2 desserts that I would never turn down in Austin. And they're not at a dessert place, but they're actually both at Intero. And it's the brown butter cake, which is the most beautifully prepared brown butter cake. This a little mascarpone gelato, candied pecans and walnuts. Um, just absolutely stunning. And then Crystal also does uh, her affogato is second to none. So oftentimes that same mascarpone gelato underneath, somehow she has figured out how to defy physics and she puts this crispy cookie that's like perfectly salted right at the very bottom, and it
Ooh.
stays crispy the whole time. I have no idea how, because it's been sitting on, this gelato sitting on top, and then you pour espresso all over it.
Hmm.
I mean, those are world class desserts.
Both of those sound really good.
They're stunning. And she also happens to be a world famous chocolatier. So like her like chocolate truffles are stunning.
Yeah. We're gonna have to head over there.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely. Well, I think, Josh, I think that's all I have.
I could sit and talk to Josh for
I
like
know
4
that's
more
the thing.
hours.
I'm
So
like
I
having
don't-
to tell myself like we can't ask him any more questions.
I know he has a lot of
He has-
knowledge to
he has
share.
he has a job to go to tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man, I love this. I love this. I could riff with you guys all the time.
Well,
Well, maybe you'll be our first invited back guest.
yeah.
Oh, I'd be honored.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And we do a special episode if you want to do like a stands tune bout. You know what I mean? Like, and you get like 4 and 4 on each side, and I could even be the moderator.
Yeah.
You know, um,
Well, did you see that Kim Shuttlesworth did that whole entire like march off?
She's gonna do it again.
I know. I'm afraid she's gonna ask.
Grade 3 literature.
But they did it at Team EA this past year, where they had like this whole entire like game show,
yeah,
which is pretty fun.
Yeah.
Well,
So, but that's all I got. Alexa, got anything?
I do not have anything, but thank you, Josh, for talking to us.
yeah.
And-
Thanks so much for having me. Thanks for the work that you guys are doing in the community. It's cool to see it, and cool to see it, starting to have legs of its own a little bit, and anything that we can ever do with UDB, Beam, stridetv, the studio, anything at all. You guys, it's yours.
We appreciate that.
We do. Well, thanks for listening to Band Yap. We'll see you next time. Bye.
We out.
Don't forget, Fan Pledge is changing the game for band fundraising. Sean Murphy can help you ditch the product sales and still bring in record-breaking support for your program. And with the 10% guarantee, there's zero risk. Give Sean a call at 903-948-7348 to get started. One more time, 903-948-7348. Fan Pledge, fundraising that actually works.